and we're gonna kick things off. This is like my favorite, all-time favorite part because we get a little glimpse of what's going on with these teams that are competing for some major dollars. We've got, I think it's right around 19
30.
submissions. I think we're at
Ah,
19 submissions. Let's
excellent.
pull. Do we got Caitlin showing? Let's pull her
Yeah.
up on there also.
Good
There she
morning,
is.
everybody. Hey, it's a beautiful Wyoming morning. We're seeing blue sky. The smoke from the Mullen fire has cleared out of Cheyenne. It was nuts yesterday. It was looking like it was the surface of Mars because the sky was literally orange. So it's just as well in a strange way that everybody didn't make it to Laramie this year because boy, that would have been y'all would have been breathing in some particles from the forest fire nearby.
Pretty wicked, and a really good example why the Fed shouldn't own property, in my opinion. But that's
I
my opinion. I don't
completely
want to be too
agree.
political.
Yeah, some of you who have made it to Wyoming and driven up from Denver or in from Salt Lake, you would have noticed that the forests around Laramie had a lot of dead trees. They got hit pretty hard, but with pine beetles, and the feds own those forests, and their view was just let it go and don't cut down the dead trees. And guess what? You get a dry year like this year, and the whole thing turns into just a giant tinderbox, and
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely
happened.
correct. So I,
Yeah.
I, I gotta mention something real quick. And it was bonkers yesterday. I don't know how many people caught this. I know it's kind of going around crypto Twitter right now, and folks are picking it up. Caitlin did a play-by-play of Miss Cynthia Lummis
Yeah.
just dropping bombs, and probably the most knowledgeable person going into the U.S. Senate about crypto, about the BSA, hands down, by far, bar none. There's the sign, right? I'm voting for Cynthia. I have no qualm saying that at this point.
Yeah, me too. Me too. She's amazing. We grow 'em good in Wyoming, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I ran into her last night, Tyler, at an event in Cheyenne, and thanked her. I didn't anticipate that the speech would be as strong as it was. I know she's a Bitcoiner. She's publicly said she bought her first Bitcoin in 2013. She is Will Cole's mother-in-law. Will Cole is at Unchained. He's been a Bitcoiner in the Austin community for years. And he joined the Wyoming Blockchain Task Force last year. So we've known about this connection. We knew that Cynthia went to Satoshi Roundtable in 2017, right after she left Congress. But here she's back with a vengeance. And Wyoming's kind of a one-party state. She won what was it, a 7-way primary with a 61%,
Yeah.
61% of the vote.
She wrecked the field, and
Yep,
understandable, right? I mean,
yep, yep.
this is actually what I love the most about this whole scenario is the fact that the U.S. Senate is supposed to stand up for states, right? And
Yeah,
what better person to send to the U.S. Senate than someone that served in the state legislature, has been the state treasurer, has represented the state as a lone congressional member? I think it's pretty dynamite. It's pretty good, and on top of that, she's a hodler.
yeah, absolutely. She is.
Boom.
She really believes it. And until yesterday, I mean, she talked about it on her campaign. It's not. This issue's not on her website. It's not something that she's been making a big deal of locally. But man, did she come out with a vengeance yesterday, and
Right.
lay down the gauntlet about let Wyoming do what it wants to do in this industry. Let's get the feds out of the way. And she's going to be a big advocate in Wyoming or in Washington D.C. when she arrives for blockchain technology generally, and specifically for making sure that the feds don't roll back what Wyoming has accomplished, thanks to you, Representative Lindholm.
And yourself included, and Representative Olson, Representative Shelley Duncan, Chris Rothfuss, Ogden Driscoll. The list goes on. We've got a power team, and it's heartening when somebody that's going to the federal level has paid attention to what's important in their state and what's been happening. And we've done this whole economic development. We've built this mountain, and now everybody that's competing right now is building on top of that.
Yeah.
Right? It's this ladder effect. They're going to climb that ladder. They're going to get more eyes on their projects here and now in the state of Wyoming, just simply because they're at the Wyoming Hackathon. And every other state is not as good.
Yeah, and other piece of feedback is President Seidel of the university. He's that some of the competitors might not have heard his remarks yesterday because you guys were all, busy working. He's a data scientist. He's a computer scientist by background. I think he's a physicist actually, but his whole career has been in data science, big data, supercomputing, those sorts of things. So he gets this, and he contacted some of the other folks yesterday to say, "Oh my gosh, wow, do we have something really special here in Wyoming?" He's brand new, so he just started his job, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. And so you're going to see a big elevation of Wyoming's efforts in this area. And so, as Tyler said, all you competitors, you're catching this on a real upswing here, and it's a great platform for you. So, one thing I do want to add, though, some of the names that Tyler listed are Democrats. One of the nice things about Wyoming, even though it's a predominantly Republican state, is that we've actually had bipartisan support for this. I do want to make sure, since this is a university-sponsored event, we're not making political endorsements here whatsoever. We're just speaking for ourselves.
I am personally, but the hackathon is not.
Exactly. But if we hadn't had the support of Senator Chris Rothfuss, who's the minority leader in the Wyoming Senate, I'm not sure we would have gotten as far as we have. And he's also a University of Wyoming professor. He's a chemical engineer by training, and and runs the honors program at the university. So we've got a deep bench here. If you hadn't already figured that out, you should now.
Right. And in fact, Senator Rothfuss was my first go-to when I had the ICO bill in hand, and this was 2018?
Yep, 18.
And so I was looking,
February.
God, I needed a senator,
yeah,
somebody that could carry it on the other side. And so I just went up to Senator Rothfuss, knowing that he's kind of a tech hand, and I said, "Hey, Senator Rothfuss, what do you know about Bitcoin and blockchain?" And he goes, "Well, quite a bit, probably more than your average bird." I said, "You know what ICOs are?" He goes, "Yeah." So I slid him the bill, and he says, "God, that's crazy. Let's do it."
I love it. And here we are, 2.5 years later.
Yeah.
And we got all these wonderful participants. So I can't wait to hear, and I think we're about to roll out the introductions of each of the submissions. So we'll hand it back to Rich. I think each of the submissions gets 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Right.
Let me hand it back to Rich. I don't want to screw it up.
No. Well, and Rich, let's pull Rich up on there also, just so we can harass him somewhat. Perfect.
Hey guys.
Rich is the brain power behind this whole baby. I mean, he's the guy that's been whipping on us. He called me when I was in the shower like 10 minutes ago. He's like, "Where the hell are you? Why aren't you on here?"
He did the same with me. He's like, "Wait a minute, you're supposed to be on right away." So I ran down to the shower real fast. Here we go. All right.
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on the
you're on, Rich. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Am I here with Tyler and Caitlin?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It's been a lot of sleepless nights getting this done, and I'm pretty excited about the 19 teams we've got competing, or 19 submissions. Tyler's going to go right through them as our executive MC, and what we're going to do is have them do a 5-minute pitch, and then we've got the judges and the mentors all on the line, and we'll allow them to give some feedback. And the idea is not to influence them in anything except make sure that they are getting all their questions answered, and that they get a little bit of direction to help improve. And all of that needs to be kind of neutral, so that all the competitors have a fair shot.
Right.
So go for it, Tyler.
Yeah, and so also for you competitors that are listening in, you're going to be joining the lobby here. So when your name is called out, raise your hand in the lobby, and then that way our brain trust in the background can immediately get your video up. So you're going to have 5 minutes, and I'm talking. It's not 5 minutes, 30 seconds. You better keep an eye on that clock, because we've got something special that the first person to go over will find. So that'll be kind of fun. So 5 minutes, and then we're going to go to judges' questions and comments. And then, yeah. All right. We ready for the first one? Everybody ready? Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. So we're going to go to, up first is Ted Rivera, and we're going to learn about his Wyoming blockchain project. So let's get Ted pulled in. And as soon as he's ready, I'll say go, and his 5-minute countdown will start. And he's got 5 minutes to tell us how great he's doing. And then judges, questions and comments, those types of things.
Okay. Is there a clock, that 5-minute clock going, or?
Yeah,
It just starts.
As soon as you start talking, we'll start it. You bet.
Okay, we can start it now.
Okay.
Thank the people of Wyoming for hosting this event, and thank you too for championing this effort. I guess that's where we'll start off. I guess we've chosen to explore tokenization and the law, Wyoming law, most particularly HB 70. There are several other laws, but HB 70 details the tokenization. So the tokenization is the entryway, it's the gateway to the blockchain ledger. So by exploring Wyoming law and understanding token generation, what we're hoping we can do is evaluate blockchain ledgers, because I believe what we've discovered is this is distributed ledger technology at its core, and determine which tools or protocols will be necessary to, I guess, engage the most people in a token process. So I'm fortunate to be working with a couple of developers who have been involved in the forks and understand the protocols, and with their expertise and all of our understandings of the tools available, we just thought it would be a nice time to try to see what the potential was for commercial cryptographical activity in the state of Wyoming. So I guess to explore this in this hackathon will basically allow us to communicate back out to developers and politicians, financiers, people of interest can discover with us, the inroads to the blockchain through the state of Wyoming. And I think that's pretty much what we tried to do. What we've been also fortunate to see was the Brock Pierce voting challenge, because we believe that distributed ledger technology is a system of trust. And so voting has always been the use case most often discussed, because this technology is perceived as community building and liberating individuals to make decisions that are accounted for. And so with that understanding and the abilities of Bitcoin and Ethereum, we're hoping to at least try to share a vision of what identity, privacy, not anonymity, means in that process as well. So I guess to sum it up, that we're really glad to be here, really honored to be participating with the level of talent that we saw over the past couple of days. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here in Wyoming at this time in that state's development of what they want to do in the future. And we just look forward to learning as much as possible from everybody we can over the next couple of weeks, so that we can maybe all work together in some way to find solutions that will bring economic activity and hopefully political integrity to the great state of Wyoming. So that's the pitch. We've spent more time looking at law and protocol than preparing for this. So now we're going into this with an excitement and an understanding that everybody's just going to learn something, and that we're humbled to be here, and we're going to seek the truth in Wyoming law and try to share that with everybody in the blockchain community, starting with you.
That was like perfect timing. That was great. All right.
I needed the clock.
Yeah. No, that was perfect. That was perfect. And I'm especially pumped that you're looking at House Bill 70 as the original sponsor of that piece of legislation. That boosts my ego, which is always appreciated.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tyler, that's your baby.
That's my baby. All right, so I think we're going to go to our judges now. And just as a reminder, Ted, which competition is that? Is this one specifically? Are you competing in?
We are competing in the Best for Wyoming and the Brock Pierce Voting Challenge. Want to thank Caitlin and Brock for putting up their own money in this endeavor, because this is what this is all about. Money makes this machine move, and without it, nothing's going to happen.
Right, right. No, great point. All right, so we're going to go to judges now. Judges, you got any questions? And if you're a judge and you're sitting in the sidelines, just get my attention and we'll go to you. Jonathan, Kurt, Phil.
I guess my biggest question is, what specifically are you tackling when it comes to voting, or what do you think is your biggest hurdle in this space?
Well, actually, on the voting aspect, he's going to be right back on the voting aspect with that voting presentation up next. So.
Okay.
Specifically on the Wyoming blockchain, Best for Wyoming.
So what's the question now that it's one?
Does anybody have any questions on his project for
Best for Wyoming, economic development?
Project. I'm not seeing any, Ted. I think you're getting off on this one.
Hey, Tyler, I'll step in. Ted,
Okay.
Great job. Way to embrace House Bill 70. I think that's a great anchor. We're hearing a lot of hope. I'm hearing you pave the path. What I'm looking for is, are you going to develop an accelerator? How are you going to move us all forward? So you're very high in the funnel, and I think a little bit of what Jonathan was doing is trying to get you narrow in the pipe.
If the goal is economic development, the pipe goes from real wide down to very narrow. So at the very widest, it's Federal Title III Jobs Act, and at the very smallest, it's code. It's the pathway to bridge the opportunity and the technology. So what I plan to do is can I make a bridge in 3 weeks?
Gotcha.
That sounds awesome.
All right, so we're gonna go to. Is there any other questions for Ted? Not seeing any. All right, Ted, you're gonna get another 5 minutes, and you're gonna talk about your Bitcoin voting booth. And so tell us which competition you're jumping into with this one. And yeah, you got 5 minutes, man. Go for it.
Which one? Let me see how to do this. I have to. I guess voter integrity is about identification, right? So is my 5 minutes started?
Yeah. Yep. You're good to go.
Okay. I don't think I need the whole 5 minutes. So what I will say is we came here trying to look at the economic development aspects of Bitcoin, and we were just a cherry on top was the opportunity to present the aspects inherent in distributed ledger technology. And so using identity and and the Byzantine general's problem as explained in the white paper, and trying to come to a truth with who the decision maker is, what their decision is, I guess the custodial nature of that decision, and then broadcasting that decision publicly when necessary, I guess. So those are the ideas that we thought we can take the white paper and look at voting and try to understand how it applies.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to go to any questions. I know Jonathan's got a question on this specific project. Jonathan, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest question is there's other people that have tried this. What are you focusing on the identity side? Are you going for
because it works,
or?
I guess, because you said, because it works,
Yeah.
It's about identity, and similar to KYC and keys, distribution of keys, because I think when it comes to digital voting, it just comes down to, did you sell your key, right? So how do you look at that? And then how do you do it in a way where the volume and the throughput could facilitate a vote without costing them $20 billion on the blockchain? All those transactions necessary to establish identity and provenance and execution and allocation, tabulation, all those things. So it's more of like, how do you make it real? Because we know it can be done. How do you get 350 million people to do it at once, one day, with it being cost effective and having the ability, volume wise, transaction per second wise, to have an election?
Okay. All right. Further, any follow-up questions, anybody?
Yeah, this is Philip Trump. I'm one of the other judges, and unlike some people, I did not manage to get my makeup on this morning, so I'm hiding behind my picture here. Yeah, have you considered the possibility of a very low price transaction for proof of identity?
We want to do a transaction that's priced in the thousands of a US dollar.
Okay. And
that's where we're at right now.
What about using a chain that is much more inexpensive, like IOHK's?
Are you pitching me a chain, or you have an idea?
I am, because I've looked at the price extensively, and I already know that it is way less expensive than other chains to be able to do, and in fact supports doing a zero price transaction.
Well, we would be interested in looking at the information and trying to see what the speed is on something like that.
Ted, I really think you need to focus on the identity part as a bigger part of the state element, right? Because the state has to verify some of this stuff. And then you definitely have to focus on the price element. You can't use Bitcoin to do a voting mechanism. It's not going to work.
And can you help us? But could you help us by trying to give us a clue why you think that, so we can check that box?
The pricing finality is just, as I can't see who mentioned that, but is just too much. You can't scale it. And so using something like IRHK or Cardano.
Right. And I think what we were going to try to do was do a side-by-side analysis, sort of a competitive analysis of the different options. So if there's another chain you would like to see thrown in the mix, we would consider that.
So this is Rich. Here's a thing to think about. Well, we really don't care how you develop it and what chain you do it on. You should think about, how can I maximize as many challenges that I can compete in? And there are some Cardano challenges that this might fit in. I'm not sure exactly, but you can actually have your project compete in multiple things at the same time. Just some awareness.
Well, I think
there.
under the rules, we've already pretty much established our project, and there's no turning back, right? Or how's that work?
Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, just the thinking of all of that in terms of what you're competing in is you have to have your idea out there about what you're competing in, but it doesn't preclude you from being in different challenges. And that's what you should be doing, is thinking about
Like a rattlesnake challenge.
The battlesnake, you could be working on that as well.
That's cool.
All right. Any other
We'll check it
questions,
out.
guys? I'm not seeing any. Okay. Very good job.
Thank you,
Great
gentlemen.
presentation.
Thanks for the input. Thanks for the input. And we're just coming to explore. We're scientists, computer scientists. So if you have something you want us to look at, we would love to be challenged and give answers to people who are actually asking them. So please don't be discouraged to try to influence what we're doing.
Perfect.
Good luck.
Okay.
All right. We'll be hearing back from Ted in about 3 weeks. All right. So we're going to go on next to Finley Mckillowan. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that. And this will be his Marlow Actus enhancement project. And so Finley, we're waiting on you. Go ahead and raise your hand and they'll spotlight you. And,
I'm in right now. I'm here. I think.
You're in right now. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do is when you're ready, you just go ahead and start and please say which competition this one is for.
All right. This is for the Enhancing Actus and Marlow challenge. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm Finley Mckillowan, and I'm working with my brother Keegan Mckillowan, and our team is called the Mckillowan Brothers, and we're doing the Enhancing Actus and Marlow challenge. So yeah, we're Finley, Keegan Mckillowan. We're Cheyenne, Wyoming natives, and we're graduate computer science students at the University of Wyoming. Our goals for this challenge, we want to add an Actus contract template, for example, an annuity contract to Marlow, which is a domain-specific language developed by WyoHK for the Cardano blockchain. And we want to make it available in Blockly eventually, which is sort of a contract construction web environment that WyoHK developed for Cardano as well. And then we're also going to try to maybe do some proofs of correctness for our contract or existing contracts. The methods that we'll be using, our development workflow, we'll be using a Visual Studio Code dev container running a local Marlow playground. And for the proofs, we'll be using the Isabelle theorem prover. So far, the progress that we've had, we've created a dev container that successfully can build some of the Marlow packages. And we're building the Marlow playground, but running into some issues with running it, but those will be resolved. We've conducted some initial research as well. Like we began tracing some of the existing Actus contract generation framework code in Marlow. Our next steps will be to get that Marlow playground running locally and research some maturities contracts to implement and what terms are involved with them. Any parameters that they're sort of parameterized by, and any similarities to existing contracts. And then finally, we'll just implement, test it, and prove it. That's it for that.
All right. A couple Wyoming boys, a couple locals. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go to questions now. Any of our judges have some questions for these fellows? Trying to scan on through here. Not seeing anybody raise their hands. Okay, you might be getting away lucky on this one.
All right.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. And you're up next. And I'll go ahead and mention Josh Aikman, you're on deck. So this next one, Finley, is War Snake. And tell us the competition and then let her rip, brother.
Yep. Yeah, so we're also doing the Battle Snake competition just because it seemed like a fun challenge to do. So we're naming it War Snake because it's a good name for the snake. Goals for this one is to implement a Battle Snake that that has a general awareness of the board state with a basic food finding algorithm. We want to deploy it to a low latency environment and climb the leaderboard. Our methods for this one will be implementing the API in Python, so that maybe we could use some machine learning in it eventually if we happen to get to that point in these 3 weeks. Then we'll be doing deployments to either AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure, whatever is cheapest or free. And we'll be doing Dockerized deployments for fast iteration. Current progress on this one is very slim, but it's just, we've just done a basic survey of starter projects, and that's it.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Finley in regards to his the Battlesnake competition?
I just have some comments. Finley, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Good to see you guys back at the competition this year.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So
Good to be here.
Yeah, Battlesnake. I just want to make sure that we correctly told you to go and apply over on that other site. I think we did. So you know you need.
Yeah, on the Battlesnake site.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. We did that.
Oh, good. So then our instructions were good enough. Great. So what I was interested in is which segment are you competing in? Because we have three segments there.
We might just shoot for the stars and do veteran.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations on joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for putting this on.
Hey,
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Remind me and the audience what the Battlesnake competition is.
Oh, it's so the Battlesnake competition is basically you implement a web server that basically it's a bunch of battle snakes in an arena, and it's kind of like the snake game if you've ever played that, except on a website, and you're all kind of fighting over food and trying not to run into each other because you die if you don't get enough food or you run into each other. So
gotcha.
And it gets really, really hairy. You know, at the expert level, they apply AI tools. Some of them have, you know, even attempted to use the IBM quantum cloud computing to go after the winning spot in the world. You know.
Yeah.
So it's really a great teaching tool for it could be for kids at the junior high level and up, just learning how to code, and then all the way to experts who really understand AI and quantum mechanics and all of that.
I just remember playing it on my Nokia phone, and that's what I wanted to bring up. So I'm happy it's continuing to evolve into the use of AI and advanced computer metrics that we don't even understand yet.
All right, Kurt, go ahead, sir.
Hey, thanks, Tyler. Finley, first things first is an acknowledgement that you used part of this time to kind of pitch. So I just think it's going to show well down the road. The second one would be, of course, with War Snake, we get where that is. On the first one, I guess I'm still circling on what is the problem you're trying to solve on the first. So I'm stealing a little bit of this time to go back to your other.
Yeah, so I think IOHK is looking for ideas as far as their Actus framework support goes in or for their Marlowe language, and that kind of strikes me as why they're putting this on. And so I guess the problem we're trying to solve is kind of currently there's only one Actus contract implemented by the Marlowe Actus framework, and we're trying to add another one to that to sort of extend the support for the Actus framework in Marlowe, I guess.
Great, look forward to it, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and for you judges out there, I've got a couple of gentlemen that are doing a fantastic job becoming involved. If I don't hear you speaking up, I'm going to start calling you out, just because I just want to be ornery like that. All right, So our next one we're going to is Mr. Josh Aikman. You're up next. And then SA, you're on deck. So Josh, we're going to you. Are you in here? Josh? Hello, Josh. We might have to come back to Josh. Still not hearing nothing from Josh. Okay, we're going to go up to our on deck participant, SA, the Actus contract assistant. I don't know who SA is, so SA, if you're available.
This is a privacy thing. They don't like to give their full name.
I don't blame them. You got a damn politician emceeing this thing, Rich. No essays. All right. Okay. Do we got?
They're probably sleeping.
Was somebody saying something in the background there?
Yeah, I said they're probably sleeping because they're up all night coding.
I heard you, Rich. I know what your voice sounds like. I was thinking maybe SA was sticking his head up. All right. We're going to go to AJ Rahim. We got an AJ Rahim. Okay, how about this? We'll make it easy. Who do you got? Perfect. Let's go with Dwayne. And this is his project's called Liquid Protocol Lending Pools.
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting.
All right, we're waiting on Dwayne. Well, we're waiting on Dwayne. If you're AJ Rahim or SA or Josh Aikman, get your butt in gear and get in here. You gotta present to the judges and get going. Also, in the as a side note, did anybody notice like how many old school OG Bitcoiners we had this year? I mean, we had Scott Stornetta here. I mean, he invented blockchain. How the hell? You got Dwayne? All right. Dwayne, you got 5 minutes, brother. And you got to tell us exactly or whatever competition you're competing in. And you got 5 minutes. I hope you make the 5-minute mark, man, because nobody else has made that. And we haven't been able to use our surprise yet. So please make the 5 minutes.
I'll try to keep it under. So good morning, everyone. Want to say first off, thank you to the hosts, the good people of Wyoming, Caitlin and Tyler, yourself for having us on. We're really excited to be a part of this all. So really, when we think about Liquid and our protocol and what we're building, in many ways, it's a new solution to a very old problem. When we think about peer-to-peer lending and just the whole entire payday lending scheme that's currently involved in emerging markets around the world, we see real issues with rent-seeking costs, bank middlemen, and just unnecessary fees that get charged along the way for the simple, access to finance or access to earn on your asset. So I want to share my screen with you guys, and I want to say first, we're going after the UN challenge. It's the UN IOHK Joint Challenge. It's the blockchain finance for social good. We feel that of all the social good components that the UN has highlighted, our protocol in many ways addresses all of them, including microfinance, including de-risking investments, and things of this sort. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to basically go through some of the documentation that we created with Liquid. This is our white paper, and what I actually want to go through is our Fund 2 pitch deck. So right now, our Liquid team is in the process of going through Cardano's project Catalyst Fund 2. We've put together the team of development partners that you see at the bottom here, including Twig, App Inventive, and Credmark. This is a longer-term process and project for us with Liquid, but we wanted to enter this competition because we felt that we have the Marlowe and Haskell developers on board to be able to put together in the next 3 weeks an MVP of what our full form Liquid protocol will enable using the Marlowe playground and using different Haskell, environments that we can then run within Marlowe. So a little just more about, Liquid and why we're, addressing this market and what we really see as the problem, right? And the heart of it is today, instant loans in both the centralized finance or CFI and decentralized finance, DeFi solutions are just too expensive. Both from a cost, time, and the risk of defaulting, the borrower in these positions is really taking a very high risk, not good for their actual development of credit, bet when they take these payday lending scheme like loans. We see that the cost of this is pretty massive, and with the growth of almost 19% each year in the emerging markets, we see the global digital lending platform market only growing from here through 2027, right? But at the same time, we understand that the barriers to accessing finance and the reasons that these loans and these payday lending schemes are able to extract so much value is there's no way to verify ID and verify credit for 2/3 of the global users who want access to finance, right? So our founding team, myself, Josh Aikman, who's on this call and lives in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and Tashoma Bellini, who's from Ghana and now lives in Montreal, we spent the last 2 months thinking of what kind of solution can we build using Cardano Rails, thinking of the Web3 operating model and how that is, very quickly going to come up to, really compete with the Web2 traditional banking model that we see now. And basically what we were able to come up with is the protocol design, the actual development and integration teams that we're going to use for things like actually developing our protocol, things like integrating on-chain credit products into our protocol, so that instead of just borrowing at a fixed cost based on supply and demand and set interest rates, you're actually borrowing in a way that incentivizes the building of on-chain credit, because products and applications can be built on top of our open APIs and software development kits that actually enable, insurance, credit, data marketplaces to take hold and actually be priced in the user's on-chain credit that they've accumulated from borrowing in our protocol. A little bit just about our development methodology and how we think about going through these stages. I know that we only have a 3-week phase for this hackathon, but we are going to try to go through, the software development lifecycle and a planning, analysis, design into development stage. We feel that starting with planning, getting our business analysts, getting our, Haskell development and Marlowe development team, basically speaking the same language is the first place that we need to, basically align everything and move into the analysis of the actual protocol, thinking, what do we have now in Marlowe Playground that we can use? And we've kind of already started this process. What's in Plutus Playground that we kind of need to wait on before we can really implement fully? And where can we kind of find a nice middle ground that in the next 3 weeks we can really produce, a real working MVP within the playground? I won't go into more because I know I'm running out of time here. But if you have any questions just based on that, I'd love to field some of your questions and to talk more about, how our protocol and project relates to the UN sustainable development.
I gotta cut you off. Otherwise, Rich is gonna start getting mad at me. I can't thank you enough for making the 5 minutes though, because we were honestly really, really hoping somebody would do that, because we've been sitting on that. We've got some other noises. I love being around people that are just way beyond smarter than I will ever be, because a lot of that I didn't understand. I just buy the Bitcoin, but here. So any questions from our judges, because I know they're far smarter than I am and they'll be able to challenge this guy.
If nobody else has anything, my biggest question is always identity. How are you looking at verifying identity? How are you looking at making sure the lending platform that you are creating is going to be, KYC, AML kind of compliant when it matters to scaling, all of those kind of fun facts?
Yep, that's a great question. So the base of identity in our system is actually Altala Prism. Because we're building directly on top of the Cardano stack, we plan on using, the latest and greatest KYC AML that's automated through the Altala Prism integration. We've already had talks with the Credmark founders. They're our, integration partner for the on-chain credit product. And they're actually going to integrate directly into the Altala Prism wallet, so that when a user actually enters our protocol, the first thing they do is either connect their identity to an existing Altala Prism wallet or create a new one using their government issued ID. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Identity and, like I said at the start of this, credit are the main barriers we actually see to really disrupting the peer-to-peer lending market. And yes, identity is the first one that we tackled with Untitled Prism, and credit, building that on chain with Credmark is the second one.
Kurt, you got a question?
Hi, this is Yev. I've got just a clarification. One, just massive kudos. I think it's amazing what you're doing. But the credit decisioning is based on processing volume and cash flow rather than just like a traditional credit score, right? Is that correct?
So it's based on both, right? So the actual lending pool, and let's just take a simple example, ADA, which is the crypto that powers Cardano. The liquid ADA lending pool, the borrower who wants to deposit ADA and then take out a loan, maybe 75% of their deposit that's sitting as collateral, that's only supply and demand that's setting that interest rate, right? How much supply is actually in the ADA pool and how much are you depositing and then asking to borrow, right? But I'm saying with the introduction of Credmark and their on-chain credit product called Credmark Clear, we can actually have the algorithm not just price in terms of supply and demand, like that's what the money market protocols in Ethereum do today, but we can also include a second strategy that's tied to the borrower's on-chain generated credit score. So think of a FICO equivalent credit score that just lives on-chain in the Liquid protocol. And as a borrower takes out loans, their ability to keep loans collateralized and not get liquidated, that actually is increasing their credit score. And at the same time, it's decreasing their cost of originating a loan. So in many ways, we plan on using our algorithm to actually price down the cost of taking out a loan to zero for the top credit borrowers in our system. It's like gamifying, on-chain credit scores in many ways and incentivizing
no, that's
good
brilliant.
credit score building habits. Yep.
I like that. And then my final question is just how you position yourself in the market against the digital banks, or would it be kind of integration?
That's a great question. I'm trying to share my screen really quick because there's a slide that really addresses that. And it's right here in our pitch deck, right? The largest competitor we have right now is the Chinese VC-backed OPay in Nigeria. They operate in Nigeria, Kenya, and India. And what they do currently, right, is entice users with a very similar, bank money app, almost payday lending scheme type of deal, where their claim APR is, 12% to 24, 33% some places. But what users actually end up paying, right, when you go through all of the cost and fixed fees, is these, really triple-digit APRs, which are in many ways egregious. This is in our pitch deck. This is exactly how we're framing ourselves, right? In many ways, we see Liquid as the Web3 open finance alternative that's set to completely disrupt this Web2 operating model, right? And OPay is just one of many companies that operate based on the same model. In fact, Google Play Store demanded that OPay take down their lending business because it was, so rent-seeking and egregious that it was borderline illegal. And this is, a VC-backed, Nigerian firm that dominates this market. So that's kind of how we position ourselves. We're the Web3 alternative to, the Web2 currently only game in town for, emerging market users around the world.
Great, thank you so much.
Further questions, guys?
Maybe a crosstalk here to Rich. Dwayne, thanks for bringing Liquid Protocol to Wyoming. And as you take this project to form a company, there's not a better state than Wyoming to do it in. So keep that in mind. What
sure will.
What I'm curious is what you're going to get done in these 3 weeks so that we can really judge you based on what you're doing during this hack.
Yes, that's a great question. And so I want to establish our team right now. We have Tony Olson. We have Tin Pavlinic, who couldn't be on this call. He lives in Australia, he's in Melbourne, but very capable Haskell and Marlowe dev. I can kind of drop a link in the chat to show you some of the tutorials he's already created. Free online workshops for anyone who wants to become a really competent Marlowe dev. I really recommend Tin's videos. He's a great guy. We're partnering with Tin and Tony and our current team, which is myself, Josh, and Tashoma, as I showed, to basically begin building the MVP of our contracts on Marlowe Playground, right? So there's certain things we won't be able to do. There's certain concepts like interest-bearing tokens in our system, right? Because if you're a lender and you deposit ADA, you get a token that's ADA plus the interest that is accruing each block. So we may or may not be able to do some of those things without the multi-asset ledger the DSL that, you know, IOHK is producing for Cardano, and it's coming out imminently in the next few months. But what we are aiming to do is create as close to an MVP with a complete set of contracts that demonstrate the basic process of, I have ADA, I deposit it into this on-chain non-custodial smart contract. I want to become a borrower of ADA. I deposit some amount of collateral, and I'm able to, you know, retrieve ADA and then take it into any other application. So really the core basics of our protocol, that you know, super MVP and what we can create in Marlowe Playground, that's what we'll be aiming to do over the next 3 weeks.
Right. So you're creating original code based off of a few pieces and parts, but that's what you're being judged on, is the things that you create during the hackathon, not your existing and not the other existing pieces, but how you integrate it all to make a solution. That's what
Most
Kurt,
definitely understood.
Any other questions, guys? Not seeing any. Mr. Cameron, do you currently live in Wyoming?
I don't. I live and work in Philadelphia, Florida. I'm originally from South Florida, Miami, Philadelphia, PA. I'm sorry. I'm originally from South Florida, the Miami area. I went to school in Boston and then business school in England. So I've been all over the place. I have not been to Wyoming yet. Had great teammates from, you know, the Wyoming state, and I look forward to visiting one day.
I think
we got to get you to come out here and visit at least.
Yeah,
I think you need some.
I heard Jackson Hole's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no personal income tax, no corporate income tax. Come here and make some money.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Cameron, really appreciate your time. We're gonna move on. And the next, well, actually, let me ask real quick. Did we get AJ Rahim or SA or Josh Aikman? Okay. You got Noah? Perfect. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring in Mr. Tony Olson. You're a local Wyoming hero, guys.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Yeah, there we go.
You're ready to go. And if you make the
All
5
right,
minute
I'm gonna
mark,
go
we
ahead and
appreciate it.
share my keynote here. As soon as I'm just going to do it without sharing my screen because Mac wants to restart Zoom here to do it because I don't have my security preferences, but that's all right. I don't really need my screen.
Okay.
So anyway, my name's Tony Olson. I'm a local Wyoming guy, and I teach, and I'm the technology coordinator for Shoshone Schools. And I'm actually entered in 2 things. I'm on the Liquid team that just presented there, but I'm also going for the Cardano Challenge Actus in Marlowe, and my project's named Marlowe Pi. And so what I'm going for is in that challenge, they want to improve the Marlowe interface or add some of these contracts, these Actus contracts into Marlowe. And there's several. It's pretty open as far as what you can do in that challenge. And what my attempt's going to be is to explore how Pi menus can improve the interface. And so what I mean by a Pi menu is you basically have a little menu where you got like a circle and you click on that and the menu kind of grows out from that. And the reason being is that I think that would be helpful in Marlowe is because Marlowe's got a section in there called Blockly, which works a lot like Scratch. I teach students, I teach middle school students, and we use Scratch as part of our coding program, and students adapt to it quite well. And so that's one of the things that drew me to Marlowe. And so I've kind of been following the project. I'm not a professional developer. My development skills are very limited. I have been doing IT for 30 years, and I've been teaching students and adults for close to 30 years on technology. And so one of the things that I do like, there's an open source program called Blender for doing 3D animation, and it's got add-ons that you can add that add the pie menu scheme. And I think it's going to be very beneficial for Marlowe to enact something like that, because part of the goal in Marlowe is to take it to mobile devices. And the pie menu works very well with mobile devices because it works with the stylus or with your finger. And also you're picking different financial contracts. And so I think it's just going to be a simple interface for getting to where you need to be to get some code started on the page. And so I'm going to focus on that, explore different pie menu systems, explore Marlowe. I've got a lot of learning to do on Marlowe and the financial contracts that they're implementing inside of Marlowe. And then I want to see how I can combine pie menus into that. And so I'll do some mock-ups and you know, kind of show how I think it could be implemented and see how far I can get as far as actually implementing something to where I can and hopefully do a little demo test type thing at the end. Why am I entering this challenge? The biggest reason is for the experience. Like I said, I've been watching Marlowe. I'm active in Cardano. I run stake pools for Cardano. I got stake pools in Silicon Valley. I got them in Tokyo and Amsterdam. Stake pools are just starting out, but in Shoshone, Wyoming, I'm running, you know, infrastructure around the world from Shoshone, and basically, you know, anyway, it's stuff that we can take to the students at school. I'm involved with the Liquid team that just went on, and to be able to be in Shoshone and participate in this, the framework you guys are building, the work that you're doing, you know, it's making an impact. It's making an impact for the students that we teach. It's making an impact for people in Wyoming right now. It's allowing us to do things, business outside of Wyoming. The technology's there, the infrastructure's there. We just need to keep developing those skills. And so a lot of the reason I'm in this challenge is to develop my skills so I can pass them on to my own grandkids and to my own students that I work with every day. And so that's my goal in these projects. And, you know, if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them.
All right, Mr. Olson, teacher in Wyoming and general butt kicker over in Shoshone, certainly appreciate you. I don't appreciate how you didn't make the buzzer though, because that's a lot of fun for me that you just took away. Any questions for Mr. Olson?
Yeah, this is Philip Flump, and my question is, have you ever looked at how the pie menus are done in Maya? It's another high-end graphic system, and I'm pretty certain, since I also use Blender, that the Blender pie menus were actually cloned off of Maya.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. I've used Maya a little bit. You know, I don't do a lot of 3D stuff. I use Blender quite a bit just because it's open source. So I'm able to download it and use it with my students. Blender provides free access to Maya as well. But yeah, I'm going to be looking at pie menus wherever I can find them. I've already, you know, that's what I've been doing the last couple of days, is thinking this through and looking at different things. Also looking at Scratch Junior. If you want to take Marlowe and take it into the mobile, I'm kind of looking at, you know, Scratch. MIT built Scratch for teaching code. And so I'm kind of looking at Scratch Junior compared to Scratch and what kind of interface things did they do. I mean, I downloaded Scratch Junior and handed it to 8-year-old granddaughter, and within a few minutes she's using the program. And so if we can take financial contracts and getting students building those financial contracts. And so, yeah, I'm going to look at Maya. I'm going to look at anything I can find with kind of a pie menu and see what I can do, you know, with implementing it, and where the stuff's all open source. It's just, you know, it makes it easy. I like Blender because you can program in Python and create your own custom pie menus inside of there quite easily. So I'm a little more familiar with that. But I'm going to look at it, pie menus wherever I can see them, because, you know, I think that's going to be key to, you know, going through and finding the contract that you're looking for, get an initial code thrown out on the screen to where you can start building from that.
I'm going to jump in here. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I really appreciate what you're doing. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm going to stand up on my soapbox here, that the American education system is absolutely terrible when it comes to teaching children to code. And I think that's one of the fundamental flaws that we have in our system right now. So any type of UX, UI kind of development that you can make this stuff more accessible to children is absolutely and utterly phenomenal. And I don't care if I'm tipping my hand there, but I do think it is a fundamental part of our society that we are absolutely lacking. I've seen children around the world that are being taught how to code, and the US is just, we don't care at this point. We don't have a national program. We don't have anything remotely close to what other countries have. And it's going to harm us. It's going to harm us tremendously in the next couple of decades. Completely
agree. State of Wyoming, on a positive note, is pushing out computer science standards. They're rolling them out in the next couple of years, and I'm actively involved in that. Basically, you know, a lot of what we're doing here is going to end up in open resource curriculum that'll be available for other teachers in Wyoming too. So we're really going to share out what we're doing, because we're doing some great things here in Shoshone.
I would love to see more students involved in these type of hackathons. I think hackathons actually need to be part of everyday kind of, or every semester kind of curriculum. And the fact that they're not is just, like I said, a travesty. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, these guys are absolute legends, and can't thank them enough. That is one of the cool parts about Wyoming that we adopted and put into law several years ago, is that it is computer science standards are mandatory K through 12 education. So we're excited about that. And Wyoming's education system is it sets a par way above everybody else as far as what we invest in our youth. So that's a good aspect. Any other questions for Tony? Not seeing any. All right. Mr.
All right,
Olson?
thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it. This is great what you guys are doing.
I think Rich is trying to say something. Go ahead, Rich.
Thanks for working on it, Tony. Tony from Shoshone. Hey, Tyler, the names that are on that list are the ones that people use in DevPost, and they're not necessarily the ones that are on their Zoom. Okay. So can you make an announcement for them to update their Zoom so we know that they match the list that they have in DevPost?
I think you just did.
Yeah. Yeah, or at least, yeah, I know. Wasn't that?
Good job, Rich. No, yeah, so make sure your name in Zoom matches your name in DevPost. Otherwise, we don't recognize you. And I'm just going to check real quick. Do we got a Josh Aikman, AJ Rahim, or SA yet? Perfect. Okay, we're gonna pop right up to Marlene VM, and I'm guessing this is our Fair Vote Wyoming project.
Hi, everyone. I have a presentation. So, hi, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Right on. Nice hat, by the way. Everybody needs a big hat. I'm a big fan of big hats.
So, hi, everyone. Our team is taking on the challenge of blockchain voting. And I'd like to introduce my teammates. I have Christine Mallory, who's hailing from St. Louis, Missouri. Also, Abhir Ae, who is in Denver, Colorado. And I'm Marlene Viam, and I am also in Denver, Colorado, but I'm closing on a home in Wyoming next week. So I have a big interest in fair voting. Yes. And we are citizens that are wanting change through smart voting. Our project aims to build the best solution for blockchain voting app that incorporates voter self-sovereign identification, verifiable ballot tabulation, and extensible options that can be tailored for the use in Wyoming election and voting system infrastructure, as well as any state in the United States. So what is it that we are trying to do? We want to tokenize the voting system. We believe that the voting systems today suffer from being proprietary. They're centralized to physical locations. they're unreliable, and they are costly. So we believe that voting should be trustworthy, should be easy to understand and use, accessible, and adaptable to change. Our blockchain design proposal with smart contracts is not meant to replace current voting systems, but we think that it can provide a much needed complementary voting method. So what we need, we were inspired yesterday when we watched the Simba Chain presentation with Tom. So we thought that we could use this platform to demonstrate a user-friendly DApp for voting. And for privacy, we're gonna use zero knowledge proof technology and also use the mechanisms within the Simba platform to get spun up quickly by using the SmartNet, the testnet, integrated testnet for tokenizing the voter ballot, and also checking out their digital wallets for our front end application. And we also will explore Wyoming voting rules in the ecosystem for our smart contracts so that we can figure out the best way that we can adapt this to the state of Wyoming. We intend to look at using APIs for establishing the voter identification. One potential idea there is to use an API that would be able to take their voter ID and their driver's license ID, something you have, something you know, and be able to establish their identity that way. And lots of other things that we intend to learn by using this platform and trying to solve this problem. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Yeah, questions, gang.
I'm going to jump in again unless anybody else wants it. One of the things that I feel like is once again underutilized in the United States is the Estonian kind of blockchain system for identity. With Wyoming being a smaller population state but larger geographic state, have you explored the use of, basically onboarding as much of the population as you can and kind of growing from there? Because banks and everything, a typical bank account, the bank is generally willing to spend anywhere between $100 to $200 to get that bank or that person to sign up to their bank account, right? And so not to say that you can partner with other banks and all this other kind of stuff, I'm not telling you what to do, but those identity problems that banks have are the same problems that voting has on a blockchain, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's something that needs to be explored within your solution. Don't necessarily focus on the voting aspect of it, but focus on the identity aspect of it, because that is the crux of voting on the blockchain. Is if you don't have identity, you don't have a damn thing.
That's right. And actually, in my professional career, I have a lot of expertise in identity management platforms. I'm a cybersecurity professional, and actually run and manage an identity access platform with a distributed microservice environment. And so I have thought a lot about this, and I think there's ways that we could actually plug into the credit bureaus for doing some of this verification. There's lots of ideas of being able to provide a sovereign identity that a person owns. And that's a use case that I've also thought about, is allowing people to verify who has access to their credit reports through some similar mechanism.
Excellent, excellent.
Any other questions, guys?
I'll just jump in to make a statement. I'm a Denverite as well, so great to see you, but a wannabe Wyomingite sometimes.
Yeah.
But we are doing some great work here in Colorado with digital identity. I was just wondering whether you looked into maybe mirroring some of that for this Wyoming pitch project.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, since Colorado and Wyoming are neighbors, and through participating in this conference, I realized that there's a lot of the speakers and sponsors that actually are from Colorado. So I'd like to see if we could take some of this initiative that's being sponsored by the state of Wyoming and figure out how we can get interest here in Colorado. And I'm one of the reasons why I am actually buying a home in Wyoming is because I value what they're doing in their state and economic development and just everything that we're talking about here today with education. And but I do think that other states could greatly benefit, and it would be great to figure out how we could get collaboration. So I would be our whole entire team would be interested in collaborating with anybody who's interested in these kind of initiatives.
I think that's just awesome. I'm a Colorado guy, originally a New Jersey guy, but I've been in Colorado for 40 years, and I do a lot of the stuff up in Wyoming, and I have plans on moving to Wyoming up in the Laramie area, so I'm with you there. Laramie to me is like Loveland was 40 years ago, and I'm looking forward to getting back to that. The other thing is, we had the East Denver booth inside of our hackathon expo, and so John Pollard, is an Opolis competed in the Bit Angels Wyoming. So we had him pitching, and so we've got a lot of friends from Colorado, and like I like to say is we're doing barn building here, and we're helping the neighbors.
Yes, I participated in ETH Denver for the first time last year, and if the team has interest and anybody else who'd like to join us, we may prep for something for the next ETH Denver.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is Phil Trump, and I would be interested in touching bases with you on ideas for identity stuff and voting outside of the hackathon too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions? I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there because I do got some pretty handy connections. So when it comes to anybody competing for this voting aspect, if you can develop a working product that meets Wyoming law by the end of this, I'll go ahead and put myself out there as being able to make a connection for you with the chairman of the elections committee for the state of Wyoming. That's actually me, so that's handy too. But I will help you make connections with county clerks in the state of Wyoming who handle the majority of our elections. And so, but those requirements have to be, and this is for anybody competing in this competition, has to meet Wyoming law, number one, and two, it has to be a working product. And so not to put the pressure on, but you got 3 weeks. What's 3 weeks, right?
I started reading the Wyoming voting laws last night, just and my teammates as well. We were up in the wee hours. But we're very excited. Thank you all.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we're trucking now. All right, who do we got? Do we got Alex? Perfect. So we're going to go into implementing Actus contract in Marlow. That'll be presented by Alex Ledden. And Alex also mentioned which competition you're competing in, and you've got 5 minutes.
All righty. I'm actually competing in the Enhanced Actus in Marlow competition, and I'm not as prepared as everybody else seems to be. I've been really busy with work the last few days, and last night I just kind of stuck my foot in the door because I wanted to participate in the competition. But I've been I watched all the recordings yesterday, and here I am. I live in Tennessee. I did attend a hackathon last year in Wyoming, and I was planning on being over there this year, but that's not how things are today. But anyway, somebody mentioned Estonia. Actually, I do have an Estonia e-identity, so I know how that works. It's pretty cool. And anyway, the challenge for me, basically, I've been following Marlow for quite a while now, since it first started. I think it's got the potential to be like the Lotus 123 of apps, for the blockchain, I think. And I think we need to be pushing that because if people can access it without having to be a programmer, and they can do smart contracts and things, I think that's going to be an amazing thing. So I just want to learn more about how Atlas is implemented in Marlowe. And I'm going to be looking at what financial instruments have already been developed, and I going to be developing one as well. And I want to see all the different, pain points. What are the issues that I run into in learning and how to make it work, and hopefully provide some feedback for IOHK on, on the process and how it works and what I can do. I think Marlowe is just in line with the goal for Cardano, which is to be the foundation for over which other people can build the future of finance. So I'm very excited about that, and that's it. I'm just looking to learn more about it. I've already played with Marlowe for a couple of years now, and but there's a lot of new things, as I saw, that have been made for the hackathon and the Actus. So I'm looking forward to learning all that. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, gang? Not seeing anybody jump.
I'll do it. Focus on the debt market. It's underutilized. Bob and I talked about it yesterday a little bit with Aaron. But if you're going to focus on something, it sounds like you're still early in the process. Take a look at the debt market and try to figure out, what you can do there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's unregulated. It's the Wild West. I imagine the Wyoming laws on it are pretty open. Just take a look.
All right, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you.
I'd be interested to hear a little bit more elaboration on what you mentioned about it being the Lotus 123.
Well, I think, right now, anybody that wants to do a smart contract, they have to be a programmer, or rely on somebody else to do it for them. And I think the aim of Marlowe is that to bring that to the people, to be able to have use Blockly to create your own contracts, or use a canned contract that's already been made. And so that's what Lotus 123 did. Before that, you have to be a programmer to do financial analysis. And the future, I think, is just very bright for Marlowe.
So Yev is a lawyer, and I'm wondering, could she just sign on to Marlowe and write smart contracts, and maybe she doesn't know that yet?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Yev, you think you could do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I mean, I've learned to build the blockchain myself, but I mean, what is the usability like for somebody who's a non-technologist?
Well, the idea is to have Marlowe, probably on a cell phone, and whenever you want to hire someone to do something, like mow your lawn or something, you can draw up a contract for how he's going to be paid, and that kind of thing, or rely on a third party to determine whether the work was done properly and whether the person should be paid.
Yeah, I don't think that message is getting out loud and clear to all the lawyers that they can start writing smart contracts on their cell phones. Maybe we need to get a PR campaign around that.
Absolutely.
I'm in. I'm definitely in.
Yeah, we had over 300 lawyers at the LawCon, and sounds like next year we need to have a Marlowe slot for lawyers.
Oh, absolutely. I think, again, I think the whole point of Marlowe is to bring smart contracts, to people who are, experts in their domain, but not necessarily programmers, so that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, Alex, what I'm hearing is that if you bring us a really easy way to show how easy Marlowe is to build a smart contract, you have 300 signed paying customers.
Ooh, all right. Okay. I'll look into that for sure.
Go forward, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any other questions. Thank you very much for your time and your submission, and we look forward to seeing you in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. Up next, we're going to the man, the myth. Yeah, the legend. Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Jesse. All right, man. You ready?
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yep. And you got 5 minutes, man. And you've got to talk specifically. You got to say what you're competing in, and then, yeah, run the ball.
Cool. I definitely won't need 5 minutes. So I'm competing in the Best for Wyoming challenge. I'm Jesse Smith, by the way. I'm a teacher at Shoshone High School. Basically, what I'd like to do is create a video chronicling our journey in making competitive Cardano stake pool operators out of high schoolers in the middle of nowhere. That's my pitch.
Oh, I love it.
It's not in the middle of nowhere. That's good cow country.
Yeah, we're desert full of sagebrush.
High desert.
I don't know what that's called. High desert. Yeah.
Yeah, high desert. Any questions for one of my favorite teachers in the world?
You do know that Shoshone is actually the center of the universe now. So there you go.
What specifically in the staking aspect are you trying to focus on with the students?
So there are a lot of aspects to this. It's actually quite challenging considering, some students are new to me. And so they've not used Linux before. They're new to command line in general. So I'm a professional stake pool operator myself. I run one here in Wyoming. I think I'm still the only one in Wyoming that's created blocks on mainnet. We'll be operating in testnet first. But basically, students are going to get many relevant skills, a lot in the realm of DevOps. There's actually a direct pipeline to the university. They'll be running their own stake pool someday. So we're going to build tons and tons of skills. There's actually the level of depth is quite huge. For one, like we're going to have to spend a decent amount of time on Linux hardening. I have a small part of my class that blockchain's not their thing, so I'm running them through a cybersecurity course, and I hope they're not watching this right now, but it's going to be a surprise. We're going to bring those two projects together. They're going to test my students' nodes once they get them up. So once we're all competent once they're competent safe pool operators on the public Cardano testnet, we're going to try and spin up our own Shoshone testnet, and actually we're going to build incentives into that. We'll build our own Genesis block. We'll port Daedalus over, and so, students will be able to eventually buy, things like maybe some virtual reality time with their tokens, or, it would incentivize because Cardano is a proof of stake protocol. If students could, convince their classmates to delegate to their pool, they could earn more than their friends. So.
Hey, Jesse, what is in 3 weeks, not a lot of time, what do you envision bringing in 3 weeks? What are we going to see?
So that's what you're going to get. What I'm going to deliver is a professional quality video. You guys are going to like it. It's going to outline what we are currently working on, where we are, where we're going, and what we've done.
Awesome.
Any other questions, gang? Tony,
I have one about the student population that you're working with.
When I say we're a small school in the middle of nowhere, that's not an exaggeration. We're K-12 all in one building. Total K-12 students are about 450. Graduating classes are in the low 20s typically, and I'm currently working with 15 students.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's a big class in Wyoming. The hell are you
Well,
talking
it's
about?
split between 2 classes. Yeah.
Graduating classes of 20. That beats some of my towns.
Yeah.
Jesse, I'd be interested to know if you got a chance to look at the Battle Snake competition, and
I did. The issue with doing that as I get around 3 hours a week with students, and
Gotcha.
we're extremely ambitious in what we're doing. And so, you know, like 4-day weekends are rough, for example. So, you know, we have to relearn stuff because command line's new for some students, for example. So,
Yeah, I get it. Well, awesome. Good to see you, man.
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I love what you guys do here. Good luck on the rest of it.
Thanks, Jesse. All right. We're going to be going to Hayden Moritz, I believe. LeBow Jen. And his project is called Greedy Snake, One Has No Name. Okay. Right on, right on.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
So
Can you hear us?
yeah. So I can also share my screen now. So can you make me a co-host? Okay, I think I can do it now. Okay, cool. So first, let me share my screen. So my name is Li Baojing, and my teammate is Yan Bingong. And so far, we are competing in the Battle Snack Challenge, and this is our profile of the snake. So the snake name is One Has No Name, and the birthday is yesterday morning, and it's built on Linux machine, and it is built in using JavaScript and Node.js. And the personality of the snack, or the snackality, is very greedy, and it's growing really fast, because the motto of the snake is food is the first priority. So so we have built a prototype, and then now it is working, and it can compete in the arena on the Battle Snack website. And here are some games that we played, and I can show you now. So but we are just using very fundamental, very basic strategy, which is called the greedy algorithm. And so basically, so it will just seek the food in the shortest path, and yeah, so that's it. And however, there are some corner cases it cannot handle well. So probably later on we will try to optimize this. So in this case, our snake should be smart enough not to eat the food. However, it is too greedy. So in this case, it will just eat this food, and then now this snake cannot go anywhere. So that's what we are trying to optimize later. And yeah, so that is pretty much it.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. It looks like you're already quite a ways along. Any questions there, gang?
Tyler, does that help you understand what Battlesnake does now?
I'm telling you, like, if I would have been able to get on that order list for my new 3080 RTX, I would have been dominating, but I didn't get one. Charles Hoskinson probably got it on me.
Yeah, so I think later on probably we will be incorporating some machine learning techniques, because we deployed this server on our local machine, so we can probably do some parallel computing, and then if it requires a lot of computer power, so we want to make our snake much smarter later.
Are you in the beginning, intermediate, or expert?
Thank you.
Which one are you doing? It's beginning, intermediate, or expert. Which one are you competing in?
So I'm doing the Lupien division so far, but I'm wondering, can I maybe switch to maybe veteran or some other division later?
That's a good question for the Battlesnake guy. We'll have to ask him. As long as, for our needs, as long as you're in the competition now, I don't think that matters where you end up, which one you put your final number on.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because we deliberated long and hard. Would this be an interesting way to help teach some of the skills of machine learning and AI and even basic programming. What do you think of the Battlesnake competition right now?
I think it is pretty good because actually I don't have any experience in JavaScript before, and then I just pick it up very fast based on so this project is based on the Start project provided by the Battlesnake official website, and then we can just get hands-on really easily. And I think it is a very good platform for the users to learn programming. They can learn more, like incorporate or using machine learning or to optimize the strategy to win the game. So yeah, I really appreciate they develop this kind of platform.
Well, that's good to hear. Phil, you had something to say.
Yeah, I'm teaching a artificial intelligence class, and I'm using a game for this very reason to teach them how to do machine learning. So yes, the answer is most definitely this is a good way to go about teaching it. They seem to get it and enjoy it.
Awesome.
Any other questions, gang? Not seeing any. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Labao. Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, did you have a question, Kurt? I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't realize I was not on mute. No, I'm great, but I do have to acknowledge I love the demo, Labao. Thank you for giving us the glimpse.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got Mark Newman up next. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this is called Claiming Silver Reserves in Citizen Possession. And Mark, before you, when you do start, be sure to mention which competition you're entering. And yeah, it'll be awesome.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mark Newman. I graduated from Colorado State University about 7.5 years ago. I would consider myself to be in the industry of sociology as well as user experience design. And this concept, along with the other two concepts that I'm attempting to build with possibly some assistance from technical development with some of the people I know that could potentially give me a few pointers in building this. The first concept that I'm attempting to build with JavaScript and Python is regarding the concept for claiming silver precious metal reserves. And the purpose of this is for several reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is that the precious metals of silver, gold, palladium, and all the other precious metals are they're held in high security central locations. And what I'm attempting to do with this, or what the users and stakeholders can do with this platform, is to measure and track the actual amounts of silver, precious metals that are in circulation within the citizen communities in the state of Wyoming. And I should mention that the reason I'm doing this is not because of the monetary rewards, but it's mainly for helping the state of Wyoming increase the economic the ecosystem within the state of Wyoming, as well as the future citizens in possibly other areas. But this concept, what I'm going to try to do is send out these open hardware scales to citizens that own silver reserves, and they can weigh the amount of silver that they have in their possession. And the documents of, I think in the file format of text document or YAML or XML file formats, plus a photo or a video of the citizen weighing the amount of silver that they have, will go into kind of like a folder, and it will be able to be uploaded and sent and cryptographically signed so that the contents are safe in the transportation through the internet. And there will be kind of like a mediator platform that tracks and measures the amount of silver that's held throughout the distributed community without needing to centrally keep and possibly falsify the amount of precious metals that are held. So it'll be a more accurate measurement of the actual precious metals in existence within the state of Wyoming. And the mediator platform will be able to share this information transparently, and it will protect the citizens by not giving away their IP address. It'll be based on a named data networking concept that kind of eliminates the need for an IP address, which could give away the geolocation of the citizen that has the silver reserves in their possession. So this is a very beginning stages concept, but I'm hoping maybe with the help of a few other technical developers to get a working prototype, or at the very least a really detailed design abstract to share with the judges of this competition, and possibly to work on after the competition concludes.
Okay. Any questions from our judges?
I'm jumping in early on this one. Hey, Mark, really like the way you've taken a unique spin on what to do with precious metals, and the fact that I'm going to guess Tyler has a couple gold bars to his right that we're not seeing, that he wants weighed and measured. But seriously, I think your play may be here, not just helping the residents of Wyoming, but it may be, in fact, the insurance, right? The insurance agents for fraud, theft, claims may also be a big participant here. So that may be who could write your check. So maybe a little bit of coaching. I guess it could have been better as who else in your ecosystem do you think could participate?
And I agree with Kurt. There's also a very specialized corner of asset tracking. That proof of assets has tremendous value, and that is a lot of people these days, I wouldn't say people, but there are a lot of companies out there that have some assets that it's virtually impossible to inventory, and they would like a system of tracking that inventory. And that's people that own satellites. They just don't go up in space and count them, but they need a proof of ownership for various legal reasons of their satellites. And the same thing that you're talking about with gold and silver could be applied in the same sort of fashion to proof of ownership.
Bill, let's dance on that just for a second, because in that situation you just described, there's a legal reason to do it. If Tyler has gold bars laying around, what's his incentive to take something and weigh it and have it logged?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, and this is still a pretty immature concept that I'm hoping to make happen. But I think one of the main reasons would be to possibly mint new alternative currencies from the reserves that are claimed. So instead of just making alternative currencies from out of nowhere or backed by nothing or backed by something else, I think the silver is a way that can be a reserve backing for a new type of currency that can be minted from this platform, the claiming and the measuring of reserves of precious metals.
I'm going to jump in here because you're close, and I don't want you to spend the next 3 weeks doing something that's not going to be productive. silver is not only, or any type of precious metal is not only what it's, or how much of it you have, it's what the quality of it is. And so you need to think of it at a micro level and a macro level. And so if I have, let's go back to the gold bar. If I have a gold bar, a London gold bar, it's got to be like 99.8% pure in order for it to be considered, that standard. Silver is the same kind of way. And I think you should look at this from the silver that is remaining in the ground, and then the silver that is possibly, in Tyler's drawer. Because those are two different, vastly different scenarios. Both can be independently verified, hopefully by a third-party auditor that's, not on the take. And then that's where you can kind of extrapolate, okay, well, now we're able to value this land in beautiful Wyoming as, X number of dollars added because there's an estimated silver deposit here that is used within the local economy as a natural kind of resource, digitally and still within the ground. And so kind of focus on that because, like I said, there is a macro and a micro level to it, and it's not just about how much gold or how much silver or how much titanium you have, cobalt, any of those kind of things. It really matters the quality of it.
Is his more interesting idea the back end that says I have a claim to an asset that could be remarketed under a new currency? Is that more interesting than going back to the gold and silver?
A little bit of yeah, a little bit of yeah. Yeah, for me, yes and no. There's a lot of natural resources that I would prefer not to have destroyed. And if we can have a geologist say that, it's there and it's verified, then why not, use it, but not dig it up. So I think that has its benefits. But like I said, it's higher level stuff. If you're talking about from a sociology level, kind of extrapolate on it to see what the bigger societal effects are. Is it going to be worth, destroying tens of acres of Wyoming land to get, a couple $100,000 of silver? Or is it something where you can just simply tokenize it and say, this is Laramie silver, and I can trade it for a laptop or a car, or, it's accepted within the Wyoming community as, its own kind of each state. Well, most states still have a form of their own internal currency, specifically Utah, but you can use those laws to act as a intermediary kind of banking system. And I think that could be really cool and really a neat way of playing with the marketplace.
Well, I think there has to be a lot more discussion based on this subject, and a lot of experts and other professionals may have to be considered. But I disagree with the calculating of the supply that's in the ground, because I don't know if that's even possible. I would really only kind of consider what is being claimed as what the supply is. So the total supply is based on what's claimed, and everything after that really doesn't matter, because what's in the current reserves and what's being claimed is kind of like a way to track a specific community or an alternative society that is in participation, rather than bothering the third party people who don't really align with what this platform is attempting to accomplish.
But you're always going to have a third party. You're not going to be in the business of verifying your own assets. That doesn't work. We're not there yet as a society. I don't think we ever will be, unless it's something like Bitcoin, and it's really tough to beat that. Especially with a physical asset. So you're looking at a position where, saying I have a London gold bar and tokenizing it means absolutely nothing. right? Because nobody's able to verify it. Does Tyler have one right next to his desk? Do I have one right next to mine? Do you have one right next to yours? Nobody knows. And so, like I said, you need to focus on the micro and the macro elements of it, of actually does that physical asset exist? And I promise you, there are geologists that can tell you within, depending on the size of the acreage, how much, assets are there. And then you have to run of course, the tests and verify some of it. But yeah, I mean, you can get pretty close.
Well, I mean, I think I understand you.
Ask BP, ask BP, ask British Petroleum whether they can tell whether there's freaking gold or oil under something, and they'll let you know. They get pretty close.
Yes, the weight measurement plus the photograph of the size, I think, is a great indication. And the people, the experts in this industry, this type of industry, they'll tell you that it's not possible, and they'll tell you that just to protect their own assets. But I believe it is possible, and I'm going to prove it. So, I mean, you can say all you want, but if you're not coming up with a solution, then I don't know if you're.
Oh, we are. We have an offshore gold solution right now that you can look up. That's on Binance. It'll be released next week. So I'm damn sure familiar with this space, and like I said, I'm well aware of the problems that the U.S. experiences in it. And so what I'm encouraging you to do and giving you arguably the answer is that it doesn't matter what the picture says. It matters what a third-party auditor says and whether that gold is actual gold or is it fool's gold.
I think the photograph and the weight is good enough to determine the truthfulness of the individual that's weighing and providing the documentation to the decentralized platform. And I mean, I wouldn't want to jump through too many hoops to be able to accomplish this in a timely manner.
We're nervous on fraud. I mean, frankly, that's.
Yeah, I encourage you to look into it a little bit more and see what the proper procedure would be, but good luck.
Okay, guys, we're out of time on this one. Fortunately, Mr. Newman is right back up with a solution for delivery service. Restaurant Kitchens is Restaurant Kitchen to Citizen. Being a cattle rancher myself, I'm pretty excited to hear about this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take up too much time because I know these concepts, they have a lot of variables, but I guess I'll go into this really quickly in just a minute or two for whoever's listening. This concept, it's kind of like a QR code system with multiple stakeholders confirming their step in the process. So what I envision this as being is kind of like an application for ordering from a restaurant, and the buyer orders based on the menu options, and they send the completed order to the restaurant, and the restaurant receives, and they get all the preferences of the order, where to deliver to, what time, all the specifics in the order, and then the restaurant prepares and packages, and then they call out to the delivery person, the local delivery person, and the delivery person picks up, and while all this is happening, they have kind of a very simple devices that scan the QR codes that are sent, and there's about 9 different steps in the process where the buyer and then the restaurant and then the delivery person, they all scan the QR codes that are on the packaging and on the devices. And what's being shown here is just kind of the database that it's very it's not very far along, but the database keeps track and keeps all the stakeholders, the buyers ordering, the restaurant, the delivery person, and as well as the application that integrates all stakeholders. And it communicates they're the actions of the scanning of the QR code that confirms that the step in the process has been completed. So near the end, the delivery person drops off the package or the restaurant order at the location where the buyer order they want it to pick up from, or be delivered straight to their door or driveway, or just the nearby park or something. And the each time the QR code is scanned, the money in the transaction is distributed to that stakeholder. So once the restaurant completes the order, they scan the QR code and they get the money that was provided up front by the buyer. And then once the delivery driver drops off, they scan the QR code and the money is distributed them directly in that moment. So it's kind of like a multi-stakeholder distribution of currencies in order to complete a transaction fulfillment.
Okay. Any questions for Mark on this project? And which competition is this, Mark?
That's for the state of Wyoming.
Okay, gotcha. Questions for Mark, guys? You might get off easy on this one, Mark. Okay.
I'll lean in. I do think that this could be a great demonstration of blockchain capabilities. Definitely lean in as to who you think the biggest benefactor is going to be. If in fact we were taking meat through a Wyoming chain restaurant that comes sourced from Representative Lindholm's farm, and that is that going to help help the farmer understand better demand? So really work through the incentives that are in here for why a blockchain solution is best.
Any other comments or questions, gang? Not seeing any. Okay, Mark, I think you're right back up too with your next project, which would be drop shipping affiliate storefront operating. And then also mention which competition that one's going to be for, and let her rip.
Okay, yeah. So real quickly, this is the third and final entry that I made, and I really hope that I can make some progress on this, on all these, but let's see. So this is for the NFT token, the game, and it's using, if you can still see my screen, the model simulation here, and the purpose of this is to, I envision every citizen to have their own independent or individual storefront where they offer products and services for fulfillment, and using the drop shipping or affiliate storefront business model to generate income. It's a very low upfront cost to start this type of storefront, because you don't have to handle any of the physical products, and you don't have to necessarily manufacture unless you're making a DIY, do-it-yourself product offer or package. But this is a lower barrier to entry business model where mainly it generates income through generating leads and broadcasting your content or direct messaging out to your audience lists. And it's let's see, so it generates leads and then hopefully accomplishes a transaction, which would create a return on investment or a commission for the storefront operator. And this is for the game, the NFT game platform. And so what is attempting to be accomplished in this is to make like a decision making where you choose from the options, then you go to the next step and make another decision, and then you maybe input a few of the calculations in this this simulation model where you'll determine the price and then the profit margin per sale, and you'll estimate or randomly generate a conversion rate of the number of buyers per the traffic, the visiting traffic that visits. So if you have a total visiting traffic or a total citizen population, then a randomly generated number will determine a hypothetical circumstance for your return on investment based on marketing efforts such as direct mail, the upfront cost for direct mail, or any other way, any other option that you choose as the game player or the user to generate leads. And I'm really hoping I can make some progress on this, but I think it'll take a lot more technical knowledge, and I'm hoping maybe some team members will be able to help me with this.
Okay, questions for Mark? You're going to get off easy again, Mark. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Newman. We look forward to seeing your finished projects. That's ambitious, 3 different projects. So our next one we're going to go to, I believe, is Warp Smith. Is that correct, Eric? Perfect. So Warp, you've got 5 minutes, and you got to let us know which competition you're entering into. At the end of the 5 minutes, judges are going to ask you questions, and then you can keep trucking along on your project. So as soon as you're loaded up, go ahead, man.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing.
You're cutting in and out. I don't know if you can hear us, Warp.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's a little better now.
Okay, good. Okay, I have one screen to share as soon as I.
Out of the gate, the name Warp Smith sounds like a winning name already.
Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, that's my one screen. Yeah, hello. My name is Warp Smith, and I'm submitting for the voting challenge. And I think that the entire voting system should be changed. The primary system should be overhauled because basically it starts with areas that are completely homogeneous and not representative at all. And also, I think that the Electoral College should be completely eliminated. And to that effect, I've named my my submission Popular Vote, and it's basically a D app that is also a progressive web app. And the technology I'm using is Substrate smart contracts within a Polkadot ecosystem. And I chose Polkadot because it's able to have transactions across multiple blockchains. And I'm basically a JavaScript Python programmer, and I'm new to Substrate and Rust, so I'm learning that. So that's why I don't have any elaborate slide deck to show you. So I'm learning as I go along. And basically that's my presentation. Hopefully in the 3 weeks that I have, I can come up with a working prototype that can be effectively used to make our voting system secure, and also to promote the popular vote. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Warp Smith? I don't think we're getting any. All right, I look forward to seeing it, and my offer goes out just like before. If you're able to actually develop something that's a working model and it lines up with Wyoming law, I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with some election officials in the state of Wyoming.
All right.
All right, right on. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warp.
Okay, we're gonna actually,
Thank
we've
you.
got one more submission, and that submission is a late submission, so it can't compete for the prizes, but they're doing it just the same for the purpose of education and to be part of the competition. And this is Mr. Boone Bergsma, I believe. Boone, can you hear me?
Happy Sunday. I'm here. I don't have a camera, but I have a slide deck to share. If I can share my screen.
Perfect.
Let me know when you can see it, please.
Not
So,
quite yet. Yeah, when we got it now.
As mentioned, my name is Boone Bergsma, and I truly appreciate even being able to present today. I know I applied late, so I'm not competing for funding, but excited about what you guys are doing and the opportunity to be part of this. So we think it matters is competing in the social blockchain for social good, and we might not be a you know, what you think of as financial institution or protocol, but we are very much addressing the challenge of continuous funding for social projects, especially nonprofits. And what we think it matters is a advertising platform that leverages the money that businesses are already spending every year on advertising. So if you look at this graph, this is from 2015 through 2018. And what we're looking at here is the amount of money that businesses spent on advertising was 27 times more than what was donated to nonprofits. But during that same time period, individuals like you and I, we did a majority of the giving that supported the nonprofits that are, for a large part, doing the improvements in our communities and, helping to, in some cases, even clean up some of the problems that businesses are causing. So our goal with We Think It Matters is to offer businesses a way that they can use money they're already spending on advertising as a way that not only brings attention to their brand, but also brings attention and funding to nonprofits in a sustainable way, where nonprofits don't have to ask people to give money in our campaigns. They just have to ask for people to vote for them to receive money from the campaign dollars that businesses are spending to advertise on the platform. We are currently in development and building this platform so that it works across all devices. And we're at this time, we're working to integrate with the Cardano blockchain. So in We Think It Matters campaign, the way it works is a business would bring attention to a cause that's important to them. It could be any cause that they want to feature. And that brand would also choose 2 nonprofits that are working to address challenges that have to do with that cause. And so, for example, I could, care about animal welfare or homelessness or whatever that was. But my brand would then tell people, in a short message why that cause matters to us and why we're featuring these 2 nonprofits. And then it would invite people who are visiting the campaign to select one of those nonprofits to receive funding from the campaign dollars that the business spent advertising. And so this is, We Think It Matters is not only a kind of a next generation of advertising platform, but it's also a fundraising platform that allows nonprofits the ability to use a fundraising technology for free. So most nonprofits right now are paying to use fundraising technology that they then have to ask people to give them money on. So they're paying for technology to ask people to give them money. And we are offering tech that they can use for free to engage with their existing email databases and social networks in ways that all they have to do is ask people to, pretty much click a button and they can get funding from that. And the way our campaigns work is for every dollar that a business spends on a campaign, that equals an engagement, so a vote in a campaign. And the way those dollars are split are 50% of it goes to the nonprofit that was voted for in the campaign. 30% goes to We Think It Matters Inc., the company, to pay agents and run the system. But also another cool thing is that 20% of those dollars go into prizes that people like you and I could win for voting in these campaigns. And in the end, though, 60% of every dollar spent advertising on We Think It Matters ends up reaching nonprofits. And this is something that, people want to engage with brands in this kind of stuff. And so really, we are at the forefront of, responsible business practices, corporate citizenship. We're offering companies a way to get more ROI from the dollars they're already spending on advertising and create campaigns that actually benefit communities and the people they're advertising to. Recent polls show that.
All right, that's time. That was our.
I was waiting for the dong, a squeaky duck.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Eric. That scared the shit out of me. That was a good one. All right. Any questions, guys?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So, Boone, you're competing in the UN IOHK track. And,
Correct.
Yep. And so, why? What about this social good is turning you on so that you're even willing to compete, knowing that you can't even win a prize?
Good question. So, I personally have experienced, generosity and charity my whole life. I was born with a rare disease that pretty much financially crippled my family. And the whole idea that, blockchain has the ability to give people some economic freedom and, possibly empower the next generation of kind of business and entrepreneurship is what drew me to this challenge. So I think there's huge opportunities in blockchain to really make a difference in the world, just because of the transparency and accountability that it brings to the table. And I just really, I think that the whole world, could benefit from technologies like this. And so that's my main thing to being here, is to just show other ways to use blockchain to benefit, a greater community.
Wow, is it really hot in here? Is that sweat?
Boone, I dig it. You guys can't see my logo, but the polo I'm wearing is a Loggerhead Apparel out of South Carolina. It's owned by a friend of mine, and they donate 10% of their profits for every purchase to saving the turtles in South Carolina. And it's stuff like that really, like you said, kind of, or Rich said, kind of hits the heartstrings. And I dig it. I really dig it, man. So I think you're on the right path. There's another platform that kind of does this with sports teams, where they auction off charity things that or shout outs and stuff like that. And I think it's starting to gain traction. So I like that you're approach is not just limited to one industry. It can be applied universally. And I think that that's a really good tactical approach, not only for the corporations, but also from the nonprofit side.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, smart contracts and blockchain really offer the opportunity to, help people be guaranteed that, if a company is presenting some type of, a portion is going to charity, well, you can know that's going to be guaranteed to happen if it happens in a smart contract.
Exactly. Exactly.
And where are you from, Boone?
Washington State.
Okay.
Soon to be of Wyoming.
Oh, I'm going to start a Wyoming company.
You can always move here too. I mean,
yeah, I've been looking at real estate around the university, trying to think of how I could afford to create a innovation center over there.
Perfect. All right. So, seeing no further questions for Boone, we do have one more that is of the same rules as Boone, just competing for the grins of it. And this is a name that I will butcher, so I'm going to apologize to this gentleman. Usman Yahawa Musa. I really screwed that up. I apologize. Are you there?
He's here.
Perfect.
He's on mute right now, though.
Usman, you might need to unmute.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to pull him in. Uzma is from Nigeria, and this is his second hackathon competition, and he's interested in competing even though he was late for submission, and under the similar rules as Boone. Let's see if we can get him to tell us what he wants to work on.
Is anyone else receiving a lot of feedback?
Yeah, I am too.
Hello.
All right. All right. Go ahead and announce what you're going to be competing in, sir. And yeah. We might have lost him again. Oh, you're muted, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Good evening.
Hey, Usman.
Yeah. Good evening from Nigeria. Yeah, I'm one of the judges, please. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of the judges, please.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's Adam. That's not Usman.
Yeah, it's not Usman. It's in Kabasi.
Sorry. I apologize, Adam. Sorry about that. I think we're starting to get Usman now. We can see something going on. Usman, can you unmute? Right.
Yeah, that's him.
Yep. We just need him to unmute now.
There you go.
Usman, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Usman. Go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Hello. What are you going to work on?
Hello. 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 Good evening. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Hey, go ahead and present what you're going to be working on, Usman.
Yeah, I'm gonna present about my designated helicopters and aircraft helicopters. Yes, there is a bad network connection here. Like, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Usman.
Hello. Yeah. So I'm gonna present my designated helicopters and aircraft helicopters. So firstly, I started with a drawing in a carbon paper. Then I took it to computer into Adobe Photoshop software. Then I put the colors and design names and other colored like flag of any country or what person that I want to design it to him. So this is how I am doing my work in a system. After that, I'll print out the paper in A3 papers or A4 papers. So I will use gum and other carbon paper and cut the side like 20, like consider the centimeter or the large of helicopter or aircraft I need to make it. So after that, so I will after that I will cut it and put the size by size like track 1, track 2, and track 3, and also track 4 and track 5. All right, that is it. Then helping. This is the helping tail. Well, we need after that we need brushless motor. So when you have a brushless motor, so it's definitely for the helicopter to fly. So that is how I am doing my work here.
Okay. Any questions for Usman?
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so much, Usman. There's a couple more people in the waiting room that may be on different names that we called. They could be the same people but under different names. So if you are on the list in DevPost with your name, it has to be the same one. Abar and Christine, are you on our DevPost? Okay, then we move on. We're ready. Rock and roll.
Right. Okay, so we are ahead of schedule a little bit. So the next aspect that we're gonna might get. All right, I think we got her figured out. So the next aspect that we're going to go after is we're going to get all the judges onto Zoom, and that way you guys can talk about what you're seeing so far and talk about what your expectations are going to be. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the judges. Go ahead and just take it however which way you guys want her, guys.
So the interesting thing, is you've seen the 19, 20 submissions. What are you thinking about the quality of things that are coming, the disparate amount of things that are happening, and the opportunities that these things are presenting?
I'll just start calling on people. Jonathan, go ahead.
I mean, I think there's a lot of folks that they're novices. That they don't recognize the heavy lift that's involved. 3 weeks is a lot of time for most hackathons, and they've got some ambitious goals. I'm excited about the voting, arguably the most, because I think that is, given regardless of political positions, COVID has kind of put a strain on a lot of our voting systems. And I wish that we had something to actually utilize it before all this mess had happened. So I'm really excited about that, but I also recognize that for the most part, there's not an identity solution, which really, I don't know how you have voting without identity. And so that's a heavier lift, arguably, than the voting part. And so I'm excited to see those, the most. I do think the nonprofit stuff and arguably kind of the drop shifting branding stuff that I can't remember what his name was, Mark was working on is very interesting. But I wish there were more submissions. I wish that I wish this stupid COVID stuff wasn't there, that we could actually bring people to Wyoming and I could actually, visit. I need a vacation because I think that there would have been so much more activity. I think there would have been a lot cooler things built. Yeah, I'm excited about the voting stuff, but I wish there was more participants in the other areas. I do think the snake stuff's cool, but I also recognize that it's how do I say this? There needs to be more participants in that area as well, because it's easier to win at the novice levels and the earlier stages, but the veteran stuff is where you start really getting into the machine learning. That's the cool stuff. That's where things get really wild. But yeah, I think overall there's a lot of really good candidates. I think the voting stuff is the most interesting to me. I do think the nonprofit and managing that kind of thing is incredibly important. And so I'm hoping that they can pull it out.
All right. And kind of an interesting aspect, Wyoming's looked at as a fairly conservative state when it comes to most of our laws. But one of the interesting aspects is we have no voter ID in the state of Wyoming. When you register to vote, you have to show your ID at that time, but you don't have to show ID when you're actually voting. So that might make the process easier. It might make it harder. I don't know. It's going to be interesting how that works.
Well, I've tried to push people towards the real ID model. You know what I mean? Is that if in theory the state has verified that they have a real ID, then use that real ID to onboard them onto your blockchain, sovereign identity solution. But nobody's really done that well yet. And I don't know if it's just because they don't trust real ID or for whatever reason, or they just don't understand it. And it's not an easy solution. It's been, roughly 10 years in the blockchain space, and nobody really has identity figured out yet. And that's troublesome.
Right.
What do you think about that, Phil?
Actually, I think there are two pieces to the voting that has held it up. One of them is actually privacy, as in I've seen some good voting solutions that died because when the county clerks actually looked at them, they went, "Oh, you mean other people can see people's votes?" And that killed things instantaneously.
Yeah.
And the problem with all of the IDs is none of them have an active component, so they can't be duplicated. As long as it's a static component in the person's hands, you don't have proof of possession of the thing. Somebody can listen in and copy it. And it isn't just IDs. It's, people stealing cars because they can listen with a big antenna to when you push the button for remote start. It's the exact same problem.
Yeah. I think it has to be a multi-signature solution kind of thing where the state can see it, right? And it probably has to go down to the county level to start with, and then kind of build from there. But it's something where, you can't see my vote. You can see that I've voted, right? But you can't see my vote. And like you said, nobody's figured that out yet. And boy, what a time to figure it out.
I've always thought that one of the biggest pain points with voting, especially when you're going to be able to use something like zero knowledge proofs to be able to prove that you voted, but not necessarily prove what the vote was. As an individual, if you're doing that digitally, there's going to be some way for you to somehow verify that that was your vote. So that's going to create some type of a marketplace for selling votes, which is absolutely going to destroy democracy. So in essence, that I think that's really the biggest pain point that Dr. Phil kind of talked about.
So Caitlin, from a legal standpoint and things that need to be on the Wyoming books, what is there that needs to be there for voting? Is there anything that we can do?
Well, I don't think there's any prohibition against using electronic voting using these particular new database architectures. There's nothing stopping that right now. It's literally just all the issues we just talked about, and whether the Secretary of State's office, who is best friends with Representative Lindholm because he's been so hands-off in his discussions about blockchain technology. To be honest, actually, they have been the most effective opponent to what to the blockchain initiatives in Wyoming, both from HB 70. It's so interesting, Tyler, because when I see the submissions here, they are awesome, and they are the groups of submissions relating to HB 70, the registration of business entities, as well as voting. It all touches the Secretary of State's office, and yeah, they haven't been the biggest fans, shall we say, of this. So correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler. I mean, I've seen it in other Secretary of State's offices, like West Virginia, for example. Mac Warner, the Secretary of State of West Virginia, was the first to implement a blockchain voting protocol for military and overseas voting, because most of the military is actually disenfranchised if they're serving overseas. There's just not a possibility of getting the ballots out to them in time and then back from them in time. But in that period of a couple weeks when the ballots are typically issued, and then they need to be received by the Secretary of State's office by the election day in order to be counted, right? And so it just doesn't happen very fast. So they wanted to create electronic voting, and they did use the Votes platform, VOATZ, and then MIT actually did some analysis of the security of it and raised some questions about it. And basically, although the pilot was successful, there were some questions raised about exactly what Jonathan was describing, some of the security and identity, that people could actually potentially see what other voters were, how they were voting. And so I'm not deterred by that. Secretary of State Warner decided not to use a blockchain platform as a result of that. I don't think he's deterred by it either. We just recognize that it's just really early days, and there's some serious issues that have to be worked out with blockchain voting. But Tyler, please correct me where I was wrong.
Oh, ultimately at the end of the day, and this is something for, I guess, as a general aspect for anybody listening, when you're looking at changing the world, oftentimes we have to change a political mindset or change a law to make that happen. And in order to be effective in doing so, we have to convince the existing stakeholders that it's worthwhile. Now, the existing stakeholders, I would say 90% of the time will take some work. And there's about 2% of that out of that existing 10% that no matter how hard you work and no matter what you do are not going to move. It's just not going to happen.
Well, they derive their power from controlling an incumbent system.
Right.
And why would they want to change it? That I think is the biggest thing, and why I think, Tyler, you're spot on, that it might have to be forced upon them through legislative changes. I know you don't like government forcing anything, but how else do you get all these Secretary of States, and how do you get these county clerks to want to change a system that they've probably worked in? As you get below the appointees and the elected officials, and many of these people have been in those roles for 20, 30 years.
Well, they're not all that way. I mean, that's the good news, right? I mean, as an example, there's a county clerk there's county clerks in Wyoming. Two county clerks so far in the state of Wyoming have volunteered to put their entire land title registry on a blockchain. That's in place. There's a county clerk down in Utah by the name of Amelia Gardner that also did that pilot in regards to a blockchain voting system, and not only piloted it, but it's in permanent place as it stands right now for absentee voting, and it's worked fantastic. But she's tried to take that on to other county clerks and say, look how good this works, and they're not adopting. But I think we do have a comment from Tim. I'm probably saying that wrong.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I know it's I have to tell you good evening because it's already 7:31 p.m. here in Nigeria. I have to thank you again for the opportunity you've given me to serve as a judge in WyoHackathon 2020. I'm sorry for joining a bit late. It was due to the fact that I did not receive the email for the program of today's event early. So I don't know what happened. I received it a bit late. So I'm sorry for joining late today. I want to appreciate you for putting this up, the WyoHackathon, virtually due to the pandemic. I also want to say that the submissions that I have seen are very amazing. I'm happy that people all over have been able to put up lofty and laudable projects of this nature. I want to appreciate the participants, and I also want to say that there is always room for improvement, and I encourage them to stay on track to the end of this hackathon by October 24th. I hope that they will stay on track and they will learn from the hackathon, and they will improve on whatever they have started. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time, and that's the beauty of these things is we're able to collaborate across the world, and it's 7:30 in the evening your time, and I super appreciate you taking time out of your evening away from your family to be with us. So thank you very much, Doctor.
And come join us next year, Doctor.
Yeah.
Definitely I will. Definitely I will. Definitely I will.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Any other judge comments or anything like that?
Caitlin, the one thing that I think would be useful towards the voting is if we actually manage to get some sort of a legal status for digital signatures being real signatures rather than human scrawlies, which are very fakeable. And yeah, I mean, and I think the quality of an actual digital signature is a lot more secure than a human scrawly on any kind of a contract. And legal status for signatures would help. It's not a total solution, but it would definitely help with voting.
So the good news is, Phil, is that it already exists. And we already have it in Wyoming. There's an e-sign law. It's actually been in place for about 20 years. It doesn't require cryptographic signatures, but this is how DocuSign and HelloSign and those kinds of things where you've signed documents electronically, that's the law upon which all of those electronic documents companies work. They recognize that the electronic signature is legitimate. Now, that doesn't solve the underlying problem, which is that even that can be faked, right? We know that can be faked. And it's fascinating. I think one of the great things about blockchain technology is the contribution of all the blockchain companies to new methods of authenticating the user, as well as new methods of creating security within systems, precisely because we need to ensure that since data, now all of a sudden data can actually be verifiably unique, whereas it wasn't until Satoshi created the white paper. Now we actually have verifiably unique data that can be owned and can therefore become a collectible and can therefore have value because it's not infinitely replicatable. The problem is then how do you know that the person who has control of that is the legitimate owner of the data? So it's the same problem as authenticating into DocuSign and those kind of e-sign platforms, but it does exist. To answer your question, it does exist. So the real question is, given that it does exist legally, what's the right technology in order to authenticate the user?
You know, and to that point, Caitlin, recently I had to submit a W-9 up in Wyoming, and they required a wet signature. And given that it's on the law books for 20 years, it's almost unheard of that I would, in 2020, still need a wet signature.
Yeah, we're dealing with, and one of the things that the Wyoming legislature dealt with in its special session and is everybody's facing now is things like notarization. Can we have an e-notary? Because it is a wet signature. The notarization is a wet signature. And same thing with wills. We talked about this in the select committee 3 days ago now. The whole idea of having independent witnesses who are arm's length witnesses to you executing your will is to verify that you were of sound mind when you executed your will. So the signature is not about authentication, that it was you who signed it. That's part of it. But the other part of it is that you actually were of sound mind when you signed it. You can't create that kind of thing through a cryptographic authentication. That is something that requires human judgment.
I don't know, Caitlin, isn't proving your sound mind as simple as, the I am not a robot, click on everywhere you see a bridge and, I know that's an oversimplification and I'm not trying to be funny, but isn't there electronic ways of proving, clicking on everywhere there's a crosswalk to validate that you're human is probably more than most people do when they're having a witness sign a will, when they just go, hey, can you just sign this? You don't necessarily know somebody's state of mind when you're doing that. So I'm wondering if there's a technological approach to that. Is there a simple test that, an individual can take that would prove they are of sound mind? Then that would, that could eliminate that one challenge.
Yeah, an electronic Rorschach test.
I think it's a combination of that, right? I think it's a combination of, who's the president, what's the date, who are your immediate heirs, those kind of things should be used as a quote unquote digital cognitive test, right? It goes beyond more of, whether you can tell whether a crosswalk is a crosswalk, you still may be sundowning, right? You may not know that you have any heirs. But yeah, I think that those solutions, specifically in the area of the law that has the same goddamn forms everywhere, should be the first thing that we start changing immediately. And the sooner that either the private companies start doing it or, there is some public pressure, specifically with the wet signatures. I know there's a bunch of southern states that all of a sudden realized that they still needed wet signatures on the books or only had wet signatures on the books. And they rushed to go, okay, well, how does notaries work now? But yeah, I think that the estate planning element of it, especially for wills and estates, is just so archaic and so overly complex right now that it doesn't make sense. The first person to create a notary on a blockchain using, just some NFT that says, hey, yeah, I've signed on to Zoom. I've seen this person. They've shown me their identification that appears to be government issue. Therefore, I can sign my digital NFT to whatever smart contract they're about to execute. Yeah, that should be perfect for the future. But unfortunately, there's not enough people on these types of hackathons who are working on something real world. And it's just not there yet. I would have loved to see a LawCon expose of, what can we build using blockchain. I think this would have been a really good forum for it.
That's a great
next year,
guys, next year.
Well, it's not done yet, right? Because we have so many voting projects. I'm hoping that the competitors are still listening to us talk about this. that, authentication, it sounds like, is going to be one of the major issues. And of course, another one is ensuring privacy. And of course, it's a given, ensuring security of your protocol too. But the authentication one, that sounds like it's a major it's a major hurdle. And all of you who are competing for the voting prize should be thinking about, what's your authentication model? How do you verify that the person is indeed who they are? And of course, this technology is absolutely spot on useful for that, which is that you can create data that is verifiably unique. It doesn't have to be through an NFT. It can be through a different means, but figure out how to authenticate that the data is verifiably unique. Brian Bishop is not able to join us right now, but I can say this is one of the things that Avanti's been spending a lot of time thinking about, because we're securing a lot of digital assets for institutions, which by definition is going to be higher value. And so how do you actually how do you kind of replicate, if you think about it, the way a big company authenticates to approve, say, a vendor payment. Think about, a big company approving a $100 million vendor payment. Do you think that there's only one person who approves that $100 million vendor payment, and they only jump through one simple little hoop by, for example, sending an email? Hell no. The security processes, the operational processes to get approval to send a $100 million vendor payment, for example, are very, very difficult. And this is why you don't actually see that much fraud in something like a $100 million vendor payment, right? Because typically something like that probably goes through at least 5 levels of approval, I would guess. And each one has to authenticate into their approval system. And my guess is that something that big probably goes all the way up to the CEO of a corporation. So how do you think about that operational model? That's not really a technological model. We've obviously now got different technologies, and maybe those technologies will be able to incorporate that 5-level authentication within a corporate structure that we just talked about. That's more of an operational process than a technological process, but maybe we can marry the two and end up helping to authenticate that the voter is indeed who they say they are. Maybe it is through some sort of a crowdsource. Maybe it is through, some combination. But we look a lot at, we've looked at a lot of the authentication that other blockchain companies use. Some are using voice, some are using photographs, some are using biometrics. The problem with every single one of those is deep fakes. And so some of the companies are using 20 different data points to authenticate. Maybe that's what it takes in order for you to prove that you are who you are. And maybe it's done multi-signature and multi-device. Think about all that.
You make a couple of really good points, Caitlin. It isn't over. It was your first point. And that's really the whole reason for this judge panel and mentor panel to be here discussing these things, to give the devs an idea of the opportunities that could really push their projects forward and make them really meaningful. So I'm sure they're listening, or they'll watch the recordings of this, and that hopefully will help them pivot into things that are really, really meaningful. That's why we extended the hackathon for a month, so that in a weekend you really can just get started. And we really want to see good projects come out of this, and hopefully new businesses come out of this. So
Rich, if I could, since part of this is mentoring, I want to bring up a point, and I'm going to probably bring Caitlin into this point as well too, because I think one of the true lessons of our industry is a very important lesson that we learned in the Satoshi white paper, which was to think outside your normal silo when you're solving a problem. And this actually came up in our opening segment on Thursday, where Satoshi solved a seemingly unsolvable computer problem by using game theory, an economic solution. And so many times, in business, marketing people think like marketing people, and computer science people think like computer science people. If I could encourage any of the devs that are on this call right now, is when you're thinking about solving some of your problems, think outside the box. Don't think, just don't think like a computer scientist or a programmer. I'm going to put, Caitlin on the spot a little bit because I've heard her give an amazing speech about systemic thinking and how she was exposed to that at the University of Wyoming. So I just think it would be an important lesson for especially the young developers who are facing seemingly unsolvable problems. So Caitlin, can I put you on the spot a little bit?
Yeah, sure. We talked about this on, what day was it? Friday?
Thursday.
The importance of systemic thinking. And this is a speech that's on my caitlin-long.com website. Takes you probably 10 minutes to read. But the gist is that we got Bitcoin because Satoshi was a polymath. Satoshi was not just a computer scientist. Satoshi obviously had a deep understanding of monetary history, economics, behavioral science, and of course, the things that the computer scientists like to focus on, like an understanding of cryptography, an understanding of public-private key cryptography specifically, an understanding of the history that came before in distributed systems, obviously a database expert, right? If you think of all the things that it took for Satoshi to solve the Byzantine generals problem, which is a problem that computer scientists, I understand, I'm not one, but I've read, computer scientists had for decades after it had been identified, I think in the 60s as a problem to solve. There were a lot of academic papers written in computer science explaining why it wasn't solvable. And then it took somebody who actually understood how to combine all of those disciplines together, not just the computer science and the math and the cryptography. It was really the economics and the behavioral science. It was sort of the social sciences that brought it all together. And if Satoshi hadn't been a student of all that, we would still be presumably trying to solve the Byzantine generals problem using tools from the narrow swim lanes that most of the computer science field was using over decades in concluding that it wasn't possible. And Bitcoin, as you know, is an extremely detailed and delicately balanced system that works because the game theory works. But there's a lot of asymmetry that goes into it. It's more costly to add data to the network than it is to verify it, for example. The reason it hasn't been hacked is because it costs you more to rewrite just this hour's previous blockchain transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain than you would gain if you actually hacked it. So you've got serious asymmetries that keep it in that really delicate and beautiful balance. It's a beautiful system, but if you didn't understand those economic incentives, then maybe, you missed it, right? So if you're trying to solve that problem using only narrow swim lane type tools and didn't think outside of your box, you might have missed it. So
yeah, and to that point, actually, Steve, you bring that up about mentorship. That was actually my second point that she brought up earlier, that she just touched on, and it's really about diversity and the diversity of thought and diversity of experience and disciplines. And I would encourage all the teams to get a marketing guy on your team, get a finance guy on your team, and have this cross-discipline. And really, isn't that what you're trying to do with the Blockchain Center of Excellence, Steve? Is have this cross-pollination?
No, agreed. I mean, I think, there's many lessons that if you really, when you really study the Satoshi white paper, Caitlin was very eloquent in how complex the system is in creating a unique balance. But another lesson, I think, for the developers as they're working on their products, and Rich, I completely agree with you to bring in people from different disciplines. But the other lesson that'll be learned from the Satoshi white paper is Satoshi, whoever he, she, or they are, changed the world in 9 pages. Okay, when you really think about it, change the world in 9 pages. The white paper is not War and Peace. Okay, this is 9 pages. So my advice to the developers out there is, solve a problem, but solve it in a very, very pithy and clear way. That's where you're going to get. I think you're really going to stand out. You're working on a project for a month. Don't get bogged down in the unimportant. Really, think through what problem you're solving. Think through how your solution truly is revolutionary and changing the world. And I've just always, personally in my 35-year professional career before I joined the university, always felt that the best solutions were the unbelievably simple ones. And so incorporate a little bit of, there's just, there's so much you could learn from the Satoshi white paper. And I think those are two of the biggest lessons. But if I could answer your question now, Rich, yeah, when the university set up the Blockchain Center of Excellence, we looked at what many of the other universities across the country were doing. There's about a dozen that have blockchain centers, but in most cases, those blockchain centers reside in either their IT or their information systems or their computer science departments. And we wanted to do two things that was somewhat unique in this space. One is we wanted to be purely interdisciplinary. We looked at the same thing that we just talked about with Satoshi and said, hey, listen, if we are going to solve problems using this new technology, and these problems exist and can be solved by this technology in our School of Ag and Natural Resources, certainly in our computer science and our engineering departments. Our business school, of course, is involved in all this. Our law school. So you need all those disciplines to solve these problems in the real world. Why shouldn't that same structure exist in an academic center as well too? So the way we set up the center is the center, although it resides in the College of Business, simply because it makes sense, number one, and number two, Dean Sprott, who I think you've all met earlier, who is a real visionary, offered to house the center in his space. But you've met the three deans in the course of these 4 days that are involved in the center. It's Dean Sprott in business, Dean Barbara Roscoe in Ag and Natural Resources, and Dean Cam Wright in our engineering and applied sciences school. So the fact that all of them are behind this, I think, is going to give us some real strength. The other thing that we're doing differently with our center is we are going to go with a very, very heavy applied focus. And because of a generous gift that we've received from WyoHK, we have a blockchain development lab in our College of Engineering. I wish we were live, because one of the things that we were hoping that we could have done for all the participants is show that the WyoHK development lab is actually expanding within our College of Engineering. And it's going to be moving to a space on the main floor. When you walk in the front door, you're looking right at the new center. And it's about 5 times the size that it was when it was created last year. And we're also going to fold in our cybersecurity curriculum into the lab as well too. So wish we could show that to everybody, because it is truly a remarkable space. But so our approach is going to be very much that applied approach. But in order to make that applied work, if somebody comes and they want to have their white paper proven out technically, yes, we've got the WyoHK blockchain lab to do that. But what are the legal implications of that? Well, we've got a blockchain law practicum that can look at that. Is the business plan sound so that you can go out and raise money, and are all the T's crossed and I's dotted to be able to launch a product? Well, we've got the business school for that. And if that product happens to have an ag focus or a power and energy focus, then either our ag school or our School of Energy Resources can participate as well too. So the University of Wyoming recognizes that what Representative Lindholm and the legislators in Wyoming did is truly unique and will, in time, truly change the fundamentals of our state and our economy to the positive. And we at the university recognize that and want to become a resource for companies and individuals that want to come into the state, aren't sure who to talk to. Do I talk to the Wyoming Business Council? Do I talk to the local Chamber of Commerce? Who do I talk to? The University of Wyoming is unique in how we're situated within the state as the only state university, and how we interact with government and agencies. And we could kind of be that conduit, or the plan is for us to be that conduit, both within the university and in helping people throughout state government as well too. So that's our plan. And if I can I just take one more minute? I'm not going to read anything. I'm just going to share my screen for a quick second, if that's all right. This is the type of programs that the Blockchain Center of Excellence is going to be engaging in. And so we're going to have an undergraduate minor program, a graduate certificate, continuing education for the business world. We will be working with business partners on research and research grants. We are planning on funding faculty professorships. In fact, we've just funded our first one for a cryptocurrency in banking course being taught by our PhD, Dr. N, who is our endowed chair of banking. So that's going to be an absolutely fantastic course this spring. Our hackathon, of course, will continue throughout the university and now have more university resources. We've talked about the lab, but also what's going to be unique is how we're going to partner. Wyoming has the strongest community college system of all the 50 states, and we want to leverage that to be able to push programs into the community college. And quite frankly, because of lessons learned at this hackathon with, for example, the high school in Shoshone, where so easy to remember Tony from Shoshone, and what he's been able to do in introducing this technology to a very small town that has some economic challenges, and now they've got an incredibly strong blockchain program at the junior high school and high school level. And we'll be partnering with industry. We'll be partnering with other blockchain centers. Soon there'll be an announcement that we'll be partnering very closely with the University of Arkansas that also has a applied approach, which makes sense because they're in the state with Walmart and JB Hunt and Tyson Chicken, and so we've got a pretty big menu of things we want to accomplish at the state, and of course we want to be a resource for all of you that would like to kick the tires in Wyoming and see if there's a place for you here in the state.
Wow, that sounds good. Tyler, where are we going?
Yeah, we're going to get back on track. Steve, thanks for jumping early on doing your Blockchain Center of Excellence speech.
I've just been scolded.
That's been
no, it was a natural fit. It was a natural fit.
It was a good transition. It actually worked out better that way.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go to to all of our judges that have participated through and gave up their morning and are going to give up much more time. I really honestly can't thank you guys enough. You're all experts in this field. You're all you guys are all well above and beyond what we could have ever hoped to achieve. And I look at this organization as far as the talent that we're able to pull in to help be our judges, to help give our talks, those types of things, as far as our measure of success in this field. And considering we're only a 3-year-old little hackathon and where we've grown to and who we now have involved, I really can't thank you guys all enough. So appreciate your time, your dedication to this project, and hopefully next year's judging will be in person and not eat as much time as this year is going to, because you're going to be at it for the next month. So I really appreciate all of you guys, Tommy, Kirk, Jonathan, Philip, Dr. Ateem, Yev, all of you guys, really appreciate you. And I missed a bunch of people, and I apologize for that. Our next, Steve, are you a judge too? He said yes. He's muted, but he said yes. So our next schedule is we're going to go to Mr. Rich Kopcho, and he's going to talk about the road to the finals, how you get to the very end. So pay attention here, folks.
Yeah, and this is pretty simple. It's really just letting you know what your schedule is. You already have some really good ideas to work on. You have some good ideas that came out of the collaborative speaking that's just gone on, ways to improve what you're potentially working on. And your next thing is your submission date. That's going to be midnight the 18th. That's a Sunday. And so it'll feel really good to get it over with on a weekend. That last weekend is one where you really can push. And then the top 10 finalists will be judged by the preliminary judges. And then on the 20th at midnight, the final judging happens with our distinguished judges. And that's Dr. Stornetta, Brian Bishop, Christopher Allen, and Nick Spanos. And so they'll rarefy and really dig deep into your projects at that time. And then we have the grand finale where the winners will be announced on the 24th. So that's the road to the finals. In the meantime, you're going to be in the Discord channel. And if you don't know where the Discord channel is, then ping me. All of the mentors and judges are also welcome to be in the Discord channel to observe what's going on and to enjoy the hackathon. We will actually take the hackathon and put it in a room inside of our virtual environment. We're going to leave the virtual environment up and running for the month so people can mill around and go to the expo and really spend some time in the expo. There'll be specific dates and times when the vendors and sponsors and all of those people who have booths will be around to answer the questions. Otherwise, there's stuff that you can download or videos you can watch in there. And then DevCon actually goes the whole month. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings, when people aren't in their work hours, there's going to be 1.5 to 2 hour workshops that will arrange and will be on the schedule for all of the devs to look at. So going deeper into how Marlowe works, going deeper into some of the other technologies that people are wanting to understand and use. And I can't wait to learn more about how I can write a smart contract on my cell phone. So, so that's all I have on the road to the finals. And we're ready to move on, Tyler.
Okay. All right. The next thing I've got lined up is Keynote Impressions by me. So I got, looks like I got about 5 minutes to talk about impressions of the hackathon and what we're doing and what we're going to be going to next, guys. I did want to kind of let some news out that a lot of you guys who have participated in the hackathon in the last several years know how we got to this point, right? We got to this point because a couple wildcats were able to get together, change some laws, and then we, Caitlin and Rich, decided to host a hackathon, and they put me to work, made me slave away and help. Thankfully, I don't have to work that hard at it because it'd be a wreck if we didn't have Rich. But I did want to talk about that. This will be my last year, not participating. I'll still be participating, but my last year as an elected official that is participating. And so we're still moving forward though, and that's what I guess really want to talk about. Is I've had a lot of people ask me, well, Tyler, you're not going to be in the House anymore. What about the blockchain laws? Are we at risk of losing those? And I think it's important to note that most of our laws in regards to blockchain technology or digital currency or digital assets or qualified custodianship, and the list goes on, those all pass by like veto-proof margins. It's not just it's not just Tyler, it's not just Representative Lindholm that is real ornery about getting these things done. The entire Wyoming legislature is on board. They're all bought in. The governor is bought in. The Secretary of State's office is bought in. And so this is just the beginning. And when it comes to the Wyoming Hackathon and building on what we've been able to accomplish in the past, the door's just really opening. I mean, think about House Bill 70 being mentioned today. That bill's 3 years old, and people are still working on it. And so as we look towards the future of the Wyoming Hackathon, it'll be 3 or 4 years from now, where folks will be referencing a piece of legislation that we have just passed. And so I'm pretty optimistic about the future of not only blockchain technology and digital assets and just fintech unto itself in the state of Wyoming, that we're going to keep growing and expanding, but especially the Wyoming Hackathon, because we started out with no partners, right? We started out with just kind of a wing and a prayer. And now we've got all of these great partners in industry and government that have come online, and now we're bought in. Dr. Seidel, who's the president of the university, full in, full board. So guys, keep coming. I know this year sucked with the whole COVID-19 deal, and I can't disagree with that. Next year, we're going to be able to get together. Next year, we're going to be able to do this in person. And when that happens, first beer is on me if you're of age. Shoshone kids, you can't come because you're like kids. So that's it for me on impressions.
They just can't drink beer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So really appreciate what everyone has put in as far as time and dedication. And, you know, I look across the Zoom group here, and I see I can look at every one of these pictures that are on here of the hundreds of hours dedicated to Wyoming's cause of becoming the crypto state. And it was certainly not we didn't do this alone, and it took a lot of work, especially, you know, big shout out to Rich and Caitlin and Steve and you know, Phil Schlump, Phil Trike, and Senator Driscoll, Chris Rothfuss, all of those guys. We wouldn't be here without them. And so we're going to keep plugging away. Oh, and I can't not mention Charles Hoskinson. Charles was the first like really big company that he forced his attorney to re-domicile from Delaware to Wyoming. And that's such a big deal for us, because it means that we're making a difference. And that kind of buy-in is so important for the state of Wyoming, because it gives me the opportunity to show to the people of Wyoming that I wasn't full of shit. Now, granted, it was a hell of a gamble, but, you know, proving that I wasn't full of it, right? And that we did have that opportunity, and we're holding on to it now. We're developing new industries within the state of Wyoming, and we're making new jobs, and we're getting government the hell out of your way so that you can raise your family and grow and prosper. And if you haven't made plans to move to Wyoming yet, first of all, I'm sorely disappointed in you. And second of all, it's time to make those plans. It's time to move the ball. And it's time to, if you're bought in on what Wyoming's done, we need your help. We need it here on the ground floor. So I'll look for you guys in Wyoming soon. So our next commentary comes from Chris Snook, my good buddy Chris Snook, Sandcastle and Snap Commentary and Recognition.
Chris is traveling back, so I'm going to handle that for him.
Okay.
So the SNAP program stands for Sandcastle Next Generation Apprentice Program. And we added that in to the hackathon last year, the whole Sandcastle Challenge. And the reason for that was the opportunity to get a worldwide audience. We actually convinced Chris to move it from Arizona to Wyoming last year, because it was going to take place in Scottsdale. And the other part of it is he was working with Craig and the dean on putting together an apprentice program where they would get into a classroom and get real life experience outside of the classroom working on the Sandcastle Challenge. And that actually happened, and 4 interns from the University of Wyoming were interns this year, and their sole job was to help build the hackathon. So we had one from that did all of the artwork behind us, and all of the artwork on the web pages. So we had an interdisciplinary team. We had one that was learning project management and writing herd on all of the things that needed to happen. We had one that was learning how to do sales, and they were dialing sponsors and understanding how that whole process works, and working with the foundation major gifts officers on how to approach donors and sponsors to join in supporting the hackathon. Even Kurt was approached because he's been a donor the last couple of years. And so we were able to help train these guys on how to do some sales, how to do some project management, how to think about the creative aspects. And so it was really a fun experience. And not only that, we ended up with an interdisciplinary or an intramural thing, because I just happened to be a mentor also at CU Boulder. And I had a couple of people approach me there who wanted some mentorship. And so we stuck them in the Sandcastle program as well as SNAP. So not only did we, and then to top it all off, somebody never heard of the SNAP program, and at the very last couple of months, not even getting the scholarship, they said, "Can I join this?" Because they're coming up for graduation. And so then that was Dylan. He joined in at around the August timeframe, and was a big help with some of the technology. And then we also had another technology guy, and then one student handled all of the LawCon and working with the Wyoming Bar to get the LawCon CLEs set up. Not just that, but they researched all of the CLE programs around the country. So now we have the list of 50 states and how we actually submit for CLEs in all of those states. So a lot of work has been gone on by the Sandcastle SNAP program kids. So shout out to Jordan O'Hare, Vinny, it's Marvin Vinlon, but I always call him Vinny. And Vinny actually helped us last year on the hackathon as well. And then Diana, Justin, Dylan, Todd, who had to evacuate because he's over there by Woods Landing. And Kyle Custis, who Caitlin went to school with his mother, Nita. And Adam, who actually is out of Colorado, out of Colorado Springs, but going to Wyoming. So we had a really good group of kids, and it was fun, and they actually learned something. So they all actually also presented before the deans to let them know what their experience was like, and at least one of them has had a personal conversation. I think it was one or two of them had a personal conversation with Ed Seidel about the program as well. So that's the SNAP program, and we definitely want to get more interns involved and more cross-disciplinary stuff. And Steve Lupien is working on parts of that in his program. That's it for that.
All right. All right. So we're going to go to Ms. Caitlin Long, the chairman of the Wyoming Hackathon, next to talk to us about WyoHackathon 2021. Go ahead, lady.
All right, sir. next year, we will be back in person. We more than doubled. I think we were about 2.5 times the number of participants this year than we had last year, which is just awesome. But of course, it's a little bit apples to oranges because we are entirely virtual this year, with the exception of a few speakers who did come in, and it was really cool to watch the interaction between some of the keynote folks, Tim Draper, the team from Kraken, Brock Pierce and his team. A lot of people were actually in person on Friday, but we were limited in how much we could do because of especially the university's rules. I think most of you guys understand that, where there are concentrations of 18-year-olds, there are rules being broken, and lo and behold, the university has had to go into lockdown already once this year, and so they were not able to allow us to bring outsiders to campus this year. But we do plan to be back for it next year, and the reason I know that in a much bigger way is how President Seidel reacted to this whole event. He looked at this and said, a great opportunity for us to do some really great stuff here in Wyoming. And so we will be back, we will be bigger. And my personal expectation is that we will have a hybrid in-person and online event. I don't want that to keep folks like, for example, the team who's competing from Nigeria, as well as the judge professor from Nigeria, from coming. The university, one of the benefits of doing this with the university is that it can help to facilitate getting visas for those who need to travel to the United States. So if you plan early enough to come to Laramie next September, we don't know the precise dates because we always schedule it on a weekend when there's not a home football game. Just because of the availability of hotel rooms and the like. Laramie is a college town, and it gets overrun during football games, and so we can't have a hackathon on the same weekend as a football game. But we are very much hoping that we'll get the information out to you as soon as possible, and especially those who are traveling from international, but also from far away within the United States. Come to Laramie, kick the tires. There are going to be a lot more people here a year from now living here. I already know of some who just haven't announced they relocated. There's a hedge fund that relocated from New York. There's a pretty big crypto name who bought a ranch. None of this has been publicly disclosed yet, and I think you're going to be floored at how many people are here in Wyoming as a result of the bills that have been passed and just what happened with COVID and the fact that Wyoming respected personal liberties. And we didn't have the mess that places like New York and San Francisco did. So it's a perfect time for us to bring folks together again. So please plan next year, WyoHackathon, September 2021. It will definitely be in Laramie. And my goal is to have a hybrid event and to bring together all the Wyoming startups and the various startup accelerators that are here in the state of Wyoming so that we can showcase all of you together at once. Best wishes to all the competitors, and we'll see you back for the judging in a few weeks.
Perfect. All right, let's bring together the final crowd. We've got myself, Miss Long, Rich Kopcho, and Steve Lupien, because Chris Snook couldn't be here. I do want to mention how much Chris Snook jumped in after last year. We stole the sandcastle from Arizona because Arizona sucks, and he's even starting to say that now. But he really stepped up and has done a lot for this initiative. It's a bummer he couldn't be on with us right now, but I was super impressed by him.
Agreed. Hey, Rich, can I also ask you to remind everybody about the trade show booths?
Sure. Yep. So the trade show booths are open, and there's a jump off point. You just get into the if you go into the WyoHackathon IO, right on the top there's a button. You can hit that button and you can land in the trade show floor. It's the Expo VR, and you can get yourself looking around, walking around, talking to people inside there in an AR environment, and that'll go on for the length of the event up until October 24th. And when we have the evening events for the DevCon. They will be open just before the event and then right after the event, and those are going to be like 1 hour to 2 hour events, and the DevCon talks. For instance, on the 14th, GBBC is going to be highlighted. Why? Because what they have done is they have coagulated all of the standards from all over the place on different pieces of how people do blockchain for this and blockchain for that, and all the legal minutia and all of the technical standards, and they've put that all in a document that will be released on the 14th. We're looking forward to hearing from Sandra on the 14th in her highlight. So we're going to be doing these on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, all through the month of October until the 24th. And during those times, before and after, there'll be the booths will be open, and people are volunteering to be in their booth to explain what their project is. The other side of that is this year, to Caitlin's point about startups, we have, I think it's 24 startup booths in there. We gave away free startup booths to all of anybody who was even a startup, not even touching blockchain. If they made Granny's jam and they were a startup, we gave them a free booth to highlight our Wyoming startups. But we also gave them free booths to all of the blockchain startups around the world. And so they all have booths, and you can go in and see what projects they're working on. And of course, our neighbors down south in Colorado, ETH Denver, we swapped booths because we went to ETH Denver and they gave us a booth in February, and then we reciprocated giving them a booth. And so all of that is in there, plus all of our sponsor booths are up and running, and they're just beautiful. People are asking us, how did we do that? And it's really top secret because we don't want other people being as good as us.
Yeah, please stop by and for any of the when you stop by any of the sponsor booths, please thank them for sponsoring the WyoHackathon. We wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the sponsorship of some very, very generous companies, and so thank them so that they know that you appreciate what they're doing, and remind them that we're doing it again next year.
Yeah, and the other thing we did for the startups, Steve and Caitlin was mentioning, is we reached out to around the state, and many startups came and did a pitch the first day when the select committee was working, grinding out new laws. These startups were pitching their ideas, and so that was pretty cool. So if you haven't seen that because you were sitting in the select committee, that'll be available for you to review. They gave some really cool pitches there. So yeah, we've done quite a bit of different things this year. So because it was virtual, it was really an interesting way to pull this off. Next year, we'll see what we do.
We'll be there in person. It'll kick ass. We're going to have a bunch of money to give away. We're going to break some records. It'll be great.
From your lips, Tyler.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not done this year. Good luck to all the competitors.
Yeah. Good luck, guys. Kick some tail. We'll see you on the 24th of October.
All right. And with that, it's like 1, 2, 3, let's go.
You got to warn us what we're supposed to say at the end of 3 first, Rich.
All right, let's do it again.
One more time?
Let's do it again.
One. Do I have to count?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I ended at 3, so I go 4, 5, 6.
Let's
go.
I was hoping it was only going to be Rich again.
You're an evil man, Tyler. An evil man.
All right, guys. Let's call it there. See you guys soon. Good luck to the developers out there.
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
See you
cheers,
next year, and see
Yeah.
the developers in a few weeks. Bye.